And the week after. Oh, so how do you? So you don't do it live? You just do it.
No, it's recorded. We'll edit it. It'll come out next week with clips every day.
But you do? You just record once a week, or do you?
Yeah, once a week.
Okay, cool.
We get started. I wasn't nervous, and then I got here, and then my girlfriend and Robbie kept saying, "Are you nervous? Are you nervous?" And I said no. Yeah. And then the 7th time they asked, I said, "Now I'm kind of nervous."
Yeah, and I don't even know why.
No idea why. I mean, pretty big deal.
No, Justin's been freaking out. Yes, Justin's so excited. He's like, "We got Raab coming on." I'm like, "Robbie?" And they're like, "No, not Robbie, Raab." I'm like,
yeah.
She has no idea. She was excited that our producer was going to come on and be a part of the podcast. Welcome, lovers and friends. It's me, your boy, Mr. Everybody, and I'm joined today by my co-host,
Maura.
We are joined by the host of the Bathroom Break podcast, owner of Green Gate Entertainment and the nonprofit group Hope for Today, producer, writer, actor from films like Borrowed Happiness, Haggard, CKY, Viva La Bam, and Jackass. Raab himself, Chris Raab. How you doing?
Yo, Chris? What's up? What's happening? Thanks for having me. No, I was laughing because like when you're saying Rob, like because the producer's name is Rob and my last name is supposed to be pronounced Rob, but my whole life I grew up here in Philly, so then everyone just said Raab, and I just was over it. And I was like, it's Raab, you know, like I'm not gonna correct every single person I encounter. And then some weird thing happened as I got older. Everyone started pronouncing it correctly. Like, oh, hey, Rob. I'm like, oh, no, that's weird. That's like not my name.
Wait, what are you to be? All right, so your last name is spelled.
I say Raab now. Like I say Raab because my grandfather always said that, and then everyone around here, I think because of the Philly accent,
right,
like,
the A,
you know, like Raab, you know, or whatever. And then it was like, all right, that's my name. I'm not, and I was always Raab. And then my older brother, out of nowhere, when we were like 30, is like going by Rob. I was like, what? This is like a whole identity crisis. Like my whole life, it's been Raab, and I'm a guy that like you kind of know me by my last name.
It's
like,
pretty important.
A lot of people like I'll introduce myself as Chris, and then it's like, oh, do you want to be called Chris? I'm like, no. It would be weird because if I say, hey, what's up, I'm Raab, then they're like, Brad. Hey, Brad.
Right,
and you're
right.
No, it's Chris. I'm like, what? That was way off. And then, so it's just kind of like, all right, well, a lot of people know me by my last name. That's what people normally call me is Raab. Almost everybody does. But then, yeah, you know, I'll introduce myself with my first name. But.
So where did the nickname Raab himself come from?
Can I go like this? Because I kind of want to see
you can do that.
Okay.
Do what you want, man.
Yeah. No, because I'm like, I want to see
like
it.
You want to see everyone?
Yeah.
So where did your nickname Raab himself come from?
So that story is like, it's funny because back then when we were all just filming the CKY stuff, a lot of friends were just hanging around and everybody's just putting their input in, you know, and Ryan's name, like Random Hero, came from Novak. And because like it was actually this totally other story, and I don't even know if people remember it really how it came about, but that Random Hero thing came because this dude that we were friends with, like these guys were starting shit because of Jackass. They were all like, you know, you're at the bar and like, they're like, hey, do some Jackass crazy. And you're like, nah, I'm good. We're just hanging out having a drink. And then they want to fight you because they're whatever. So this buddy of ours like stepped in the middle of this fight that was about to happen. Then the bouncer tries to rip him out of the bar. Then he's like gonna get arrested. So he shook the cop and took off running. Yeah. And he was like the fastest dude ever. He was our buddy Omar. He was like this awesome, amazing running back that went and played in college. He was like super fast. So he took off running, blocks up the street. Some dude jumps out of the bush and like tripped him so that the cops could catch him. And then Novak's like, this fucking Random Hero. Oh, you're allowed to curse? Yeah. So I was like, this fucking Random Hero just jumps out of the bush, whatever. Like, what's that? And then we started laughing that night about Random Hero, the name, like just calling him a random hero, like there. And then it was like, dude, Ryan is basically that of the CKY group because any stunt or crazy thing he didn't want to do, Ryan would do it. Mm-hmm. Like I had the idea for like do a scuba dive in the shit tank across from Bam's
That was
house.
your idea?
Yeah. And Bam's like, will you do it? I'm like, oh, I'm not doing that. And then I was like, and it was like, and Ryan's like, I'll do it. Like immediately, not even a thought.
Yeah.
And like, you're just going to swim in someone's shit, you know? Like, and he was just like, yeah, let's do it. And then it was on Jackass, and it was like, this was in the very early episodes of Jackass, but it was just so funny because it was that kind of thing. Like if you saw something, you're like, that would be rad, but I'm too much of a pussy to do it. Ryan's jumping in and doing it. So he just like random hero just stuck to him so much. So that's that. Like, I know that you asked me a totally different question, but that was that about Ryan's nickname. And then my nickname, Raab Himself, because it almost landed on Ryan. Mm-hmm. Like it almost landed on Dunn himself. And the reason is because our friend, Chris Aspate, he's this awesome skateboarder, and he actually helped write Haggard, the movie too. He's just super funny, and they would call him Hoof and Spazbate and all that stuff on the CKY videos.
I know Hoof.
And so when the CKY video first one came out, we it went into skate shops and people were talking about it, and they're going, "Holy shit, did you see this video? This is crazy." We like showed up to a party one night, me and Ryan and Bam and everybody, and Hoof was there, and he's like, "Oh, looky here, if it isn't fucking Raab himself, live and in person." Like, oh, this like acting like I'm some star now because like we did this little video and a couple people knew who it was.
Right.
He's just like, "Oh man, gracing us with your presence, Raab himself, live and in person." And he kept saying it, and then it was just funny, and then it just was like that was it for that night. Like he did it to Ryan too and said like, "Oh, Dunn himself right here, live in person," but for some reason it stuck on my name, and then that was it, and it was just Raab Himself from then on out.
So how did Novak become Nudie Novak?
Oh, that was me actually. I just started calling him that because he'd always walk around with his little dick like hanging out, and it would just be like he just like there, just like, "Yeah, what's up?" And you're like, "Dude, get your fucking clothes on. Like, we don't need your dumb dick like just always around." And it was just that he was just always naked.
You did say he had the smallest dick in CKY.
Yeah. I mean, and that's a tall order because none of us are packing. But I think no, it was just funny because it was that. It was just always his little. We would always call it like his little eggcorn or his little And Ryan had that funny ass phrase is like he's like he looked at it. He's like, "Dude, that it looks like a button on a fur coat," and like. And I remember the guys from Always Sunny loved that. Like they were buds with Ryan, and I think they put it in one of the episodes, like because they loved that saying so bad. And Ryan always had those quick like little things, but when he looked at it, it's like a button on a. You can't even see that thing. There's too much fur around it.
Did you know he was in a porn?
Yes.
He said it on the podcast, and I had to go home. I don't know why I got to research this, and I was like, "Oh no, I saw Novak naked now."
Yeah, you're like,
type in Novak porn. Type in Brandon Novak porn.
I feel like if you had some hammer, you'd be like, "Yeah, check it out," and especially all the girls go take a look, But when you're just like, well below average, and I'm on there, you're like, all right, I don't know that I'd be bragging about that, but I would have kept that to myself as much as possible. But I guess at the time they were doing that. I hadn't seen them in a little bit, and they came, and I bumped into them. We were at Jess's. There was like a company band, rehearsal or whatever, and then Bam and Novak came in, and they're like, "Yeah, we just shot a porn with Gina." I'm like, "Who did? Like, who around here has a porn dick that can do that?" And it's like no one. Like Novak did. I'm like, what? Like how do you get into a porn with that? But
I would have to guess that would Raytheon have the biggest dick in CKY? You think?
I mean, I would say probably going just on proportionate. I would imagine. No, him or Jess, because they're the tallest.
Okay.
I've never really saw. Actually, I did see the tip of Rake's dick before, but I didn't get a good glimpse of really what it was. He wasn't a big naked person. I mean, okay. I've seen obviously Bam's, Novak's, Ryan's, and then never saw Jess's. But I'm imagining that dude's packing.
Yeah, you can only imagine.
Yeah, I think that thing just unravels as the pants come off. But you'd have to ask his current flame.
Yeah,
what that is.
So Maura's constantly like. A lot of people think I'm gay because of the jokes I make. Similar to yours, I think I may have got, and a lot of people around my age probably got our sense of humor from CKY, Jackass, you guys growing up.
Right, and I always love that Seinfeld joke, like, not that there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah,
like because the truth is like whatever. Like what is gay even a thing anymore? I feel like it's just whatever. Like everybody's just doing whatever.
Especially now, it's just You guys made it almost
but yeah, I think that's what it was, because there was just a lot of like love for your buds and not afraid of that. Because I think when we were growing up, you know, we're like we were just talking about when we got here, you know, a little bit older, in our mid 40s at this point, in growing up in the 90s, where when we were teenagers, and at that point there was a lot of homophobia and that kind of stuff, and we just thought that was ridiculous. You know, what are you so afraid of? Like, are you afraid you might like it? You know, like, and that was kind of the thought then. So then we were just pretty open with like, whatever, dude, touch his dick, smack it, you know, like, and they would just be like, who gives a shit, you know, because it just like it didn't make me go, oh my god, I'm now questioning my sexuality. It was just more like, whatever, you know, you're
just a dick.
And yeah, and it's funny as hell, because people like that would be hanging around that weren't comfortable with it, like we were doing, that would get so like, oh my god, and you're just like, and then it's even funnier because you're like you're just pull their pants down and smack their nuts or something, and then everybody's like, oh my god, like what does that mean about me now that I just watched that, you know? And it's like, so I just think it just got more and more relaxed. And then as you spend so much time with one another, because I say this too, and I love it now when I look back, but there was times when you're hanging out too much, you're like, I got to get away from your stupid fucking face. But
I'll still see your dick.
Yeah, but hey, bring those nuts right over here. But yeah.
Put a mask on one time.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I think like when you're hanging out so much, like, because we talked about like when you did CKY, when you did Jackass, when you did Viva La Bam, like you're with your friends every single day for like, this was probably like a 6-7 year period. And maybe there'll be a day or a couple days in there, but like mostly, and then you tour, like I would tour with Ryan or tour with Steve-O or whatever. And, but you're mostly with each other so much that eventually, like, yeah, there's just a bond there where like, you're like, and I think, it was Chappelle or somebody that said like, he's like, when white people have a sleepover, there's always like some borderline gay shit that goes on. And like, it is, because you're just like, well, dude, just put your fucking nuts on his face, like while he's sleeping.
Bro.
And then it just became that.
You guys ruined sleepovers for everybody growing. I've always was terrible. What was a sleepover like with the CKY guys in like high school? Like,
I mean, you weren't really sleeping. You were sort of like scared
fending
to sleep
for your life.
Yeah, and just like kind of like keep your one eye open, sort of. But then everybody that was waiting for you to fall asleep, like somehow got it the second you did. You were like fair game, and you know, and it would go. Like I remember, even this was before high school. This was like middle school, because some of the stuff in CKY, like I was. You know, it was middle school age, 12, 14, whatever, you know, like one of the, there's a clip of me laughing when I like fully looked like Spike from Toy Story.
Yeah.
And everybody would say that like back then, because Toy Story just came out, and they're like, dude, Raab is Spike. Because I would just be like, like running around like a mix between Spike and Scott Farkas from like Christmas Story. But, at that era, like I think I was like 12, 13, and 14, and in that time, and Brandon DiCamillo did this like, he started this thing where he was like, I want to antique people.
Was he started antiquing?
Yeah, that was his
genius.
idea. I mean, he's got a ton of those. I mean, even the shopping carts thing was his. You know, he's like the brilliant mind behind a lot of what it is. But he did that. He did this thing like where he would do this funny ass like old like, you know, Renaissance like voice, and then just smack you in the face with the powder or like the flour, and while you're asleep, and then it's like, it's the worst thing. But as soon as you fell asleep, it's like poof, right in your face, like, and then you're choking because you're like, I can't breathe. I don't know what's happening, you know, because you're waking up to like, what the fuck is going on, and everyone's laughing at you, and then you're just kind of like, I don't even know, and you can't breathe because then you're trying to figure out, and then you breathe in and you just inhale like all that.
I think I think the best wake up prank ever recorded, do you know what I'm gonna say is? The fart wake up.
Fart smack.
The fart smack was the greatest thing ever recorded. That was
because it was dead serious.
All right, Maura,
I could
for Maura.
smell. You know how like, and you know how like. All right, let me make a weird leap of a comparison. You know how weed smells different in a bag, out of the bag, smoked, on the plant, like. a fart smells different than a shit smells different than just a dirty asshole. And like Brandon's dirty asshole, like I could smell that more than the fart. You know, like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like that, just that stink of an asshole. It's like, oh, like it's just a different smell than even the shit or the fart. So like that's what always still sticks in my head from when that happened was like the fart, whatever, dude. It was your sick asshole smell. And obviously the smack was hard as shit. So like I woke up and it was like, my ear was ringing. And then it's like, but the asshole smell still, like I could smell it right now thinking about it.
Oh God.
So for Maura or the people that are listening that are 20 years old or whatever they are.
Yeah.
What happened was you were sleeping and Deco farted. Who smacked her? I can't remember. Was that Bam?
Yeah.
And then Bam smacked him.
Well, right. No, what it was like.
It was a smack fart.
Yeah. I don't know what order because I was asleep, but it was like Bam had just got a new house. His whole family, they went and they went in and got a place. This was when things were just starting. And there wasn't even furniture yet. So I got all drunk and then passed out in the room that didn't even have any furniture. I'm just laying on the ground, like just asleep up there, like trying to hide kind of. And then but it wasn't that hard. There's no furniture much in the house, so it's not hard to find some dude that's drunk and passed out on the floor. And then they came up full just as I'm sleeping, just full slap the shit out of me. So right when I woke up, the fart happened. And it was and it was just and you're like, oh, what? And then, but all I can think of is that asshole. Like I still am like. That was the part. Like the smack hurts, but we always would smack each other. You eat shit doing any of the stunts or any of that kind of stuff that you did, you'd fucking get broken off on the daily. So who gives a shit about a smack? And who cares about a fart? But it was the asshole smell that was like,
it's really, you really suck on that asshole.
Yeah.
Did Deco have the dirtiest one?
Wait, I don't know. I've never been that close
fucked up too, like running around just being idiots. So it's like it's not like a clean
sweaty,
asshole.
sick asshole that
How did you get permission?
Baked.
I just thought it. How did you get permission for Dunn to jump in this shit sewer? Or did you guys just go record? Was there a permission?
I was like, that's a good idea. I don't even know if there was. I was like, permission really wasn't our kind of thing back then.
Can we come swim in your shit tank?
Yeah.
Probably just going in there and doing it.
Yeah, there was a whole lot of that saying beg for forgiveness.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Yeah. So it was just I don't think. Yeah, I don't know. I mean that. It's weird because the shit factory, or the Duke plant, or what we call it, a million names for it, but basically the waste treatment center across from Bam's parents when we were growing up, I don't remember there really being people there much. Mm-hmm. It was just this turbine thing that would turn the shit over.
Was there a gate, or did you
Did
just?
it smell?
Yeah, there was gates.
Okay, I was gonna say, did you just walk in?
Yes, it smelled horrible.
It was shit.
It was a pool of shit across the street. Yeah, it was terrible. Yeah, and then we would always laugh because it would be that's how you had to make fun of it, because you're the fucking Duke plant is cooking today, and you could just smell it, but as and right now it's August, it's starting to cool off a little bit, but July, hot July, just everybody in the neighborhood's hot shit is just cooking out there. Yeah, you could smell it terribly. From up the street, so hanging out directly across from it was just you just had to you got used to the stink after you're there for an hour or two. But right when you got there, it's good God, what is happening right now? I'm
crying. That would be terrible.
Speaking of stinking, did you really get kicked out of school for rubbing shit over on the lockers?
Yes.
What's the story? What grade were you in?
In 10th grade. No, I always love telling the story because Bam has his way. He loves to tell it like he's the whole mastermind. But the reality of that was I was a little shit always. I loved to just my whole idea of why I went to school was just to fuck with people. I was oh, there's classes, it was there. I'm here to talk with people in the morning when everybody's waiting around for the shit. And then I'm here to laugh with other people, make people laugh, do that all throughout the day. And then fuck all that other nonsense that was going on.
Let's wrap this up.
Yeah. And so I had gotten in a lot of trouble just throughout. Like I have a very checkered, education, like where I got kicked out of 7th grade. So Bam and I went to school together in elementary, then 2 separate middle schools. I got kicked out of that middle school. Then I came over to the school he was at. So we kind of got reconnected there. And then we went to high school together, and I got kicked out of the high school. But the shit story was, I had this, like, I was a little fucker, man. Like I loved this. So I would sit in the back of the bus and piss like on the bus, so that when she hit the brakes, it would just soak everybody's like.
Oh my god!
So,
like in the grooves of the.
Yeah, like
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And also like under the seats too. Yeah. So like anyone's bag would just get
like
soaked
it would be like a river of piss.
Yeah, just a fucking asshole. So
did you come up with this shit on your own, or?
Yeah, I was just a nut. Like I was just not right in the head. Yeah, like and I mean, and I think that's what made sense for Bam and I to hang out, because he wasn't either. Neither was Ryan. Neither was Brandon. Neither was Novak. Like it's just Novak was from Baltimore, but he would come up a lot for skateboarding from Cheat Skates, and like Bucky and those guys would come up and to skate up in this area for the skate park that was up in like King of Prussia. But that's how we got to know Novak. But yeah, like it was just a bunch of sick people, and I'm one of them. And then it just kind of was like, all right, piss in the bus, let it pour up the thing. Then I'm like, all right. And then I got into the thing, like I'm going to piss on the steps. Like, like how there's the staircase, and like in the high school, like it would be like a certain time of the day
where everyone's
going up. So I'd piss, so then it would leak off the side and then just hit people, and then just fucking run, whatever, and just.
How often did you get your ass kicked in high school?
I never did. Yeah, I think because it was weird. Like I did take advantage of the fact that I had an older brother that was pretty tough guy, and he ended up becoming a Marine, and there were some people that were afraid of him. So I kind of had that, and then also I just had this arrogance of like bullying people that were like bigger than me, and so like in a way it was this feeling of like I'm a younger brother, I have to stand up for my, it was like I didn't think I at the time was thinking like, oh, I'm just gonna go to school and bully people today, but it was more like I'm standing up for myself because I was a little shit, like I hit puberty like in college, so like so it was like I was always this little dude and just kind of had to be like, all right, well, fucking attack them first and say shit and do this if they're gonna make fun of you or whatever. So it was that way, and also then you could kind of become friends with people because they're like, oh, this dude's fucking nuts. He'll like do some crazy shit.
I don't want him to piss on me anymore.
Yeah. So anyway, I got into that whole it was basically I just had a fetish of piss and shit stuff, and I always thought it was so funny to me and this is twisted, but this is again into my twisted mind of I just always thought it was hilarious to think of the hottest girl in the school is just at home having a diarrhea, just shitting so bad. And you're it was just funny to me to think oh man, she thinks she's so hot amongst this little clique, and everybody's like, oh my God, she's just so hot. And then you're like, dude, she's just blasting fucking shit out of that ass. And that was where my brain would go to, and just shit always became the funniest thing because everybody poops. And that was why, that's why when I did that podcast, I called it Bathroom Break, because that stuff was always funny to me to think, man, people are acting out here with their shirt and tie on, yes, and then we'll do the deal after. It's dude, you're gonna go take a shit in an hour. Stop acting like that.
And when people shit, it's the most vulnerable thing ever.
Right.
If you watch your dog shit, you realize how vulnerable shitting is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. They're don't hurt me right now.
Bro, don't look are we good? And I'm always
do you still love me? Yeah, dog, I always gonna love you. But yeah, so then I think so what happened with this shit on the locker story was, after this roundabout, but we have time where we can talk. That's what a podcast is about. Go for it. If you've noticed, I like to talk. But what happened with the thing was, okay, so Bam went out for a couple days because he would do skate competition things, and he went to a skate competition. I had external suspension. And so we had to make up this quiz. But the precursor to it was in the morning, we had a meeting after my external suspension with my mom, my dad, and then the 3 principals. There was like 2 vice principals and then the main principal. And they were like, they all sat there and they were like, look, if you get in trouble one more time throughout the year, I don't care if it's a detention or anything, you're going in front of the board for expulsion. And this was January. And I was like, fuck, we're going to be here till June. I was like, I'm not making it.
No.
You know, like,
I'm not going to not shit on piss on people. Like, what are you talking about?
Like, yeah, that's not an option. But I was like, and it was like a detention, dude. Like, I get a detention every day. Like, I don't know, you know, like it was at that point where it's just, there's so many of them, I can't even do them.
Yeah, you're setting.
They're like, well, you have 10 days of detention. I'm like, I like, you know, I also have the external. I can't even keep up with what all you're writing me up for, you know? So then I left there being like, dude, fuck this. I'm not making it. Like, there's no way. I gotta go out with a fucking bang, you know? Like, and I get up to the class, then the teacher puts Bam and me and this other girl in the adjoining class. And back then they would have like these like accordion doors, and I don't know if it's still, but it's like to separate the class. And so they left it a little open, and the 3 of us were sitting in the desks taking this makeup quiz. And as I'm sitting there, like, I just can't pay attention. I'm like, I had like,
I gotta shit on something.
Yeah, the most amount of ADHD ever or whatever. Like, back then, this is in the 90s, like early 90s, like, people weren't, not everybody had it. You know, I was like one of 4 kids that like got.
They're like, he's annoying. You're like, I need help.
Shit back then, yeah, and like, and I didn't even want to do that, but like they, you know, so I was one of the few. Like, not every single kid now is that, but anyway, just couldn't sit still. So I'm sitting there, and there was this other teacher, the classroom that we were in, and I didn't really like him because I heard some pervy things about him. I heard that he was like a perv to the girls, the students, or whatever. So I was like, oh, this dude, fuck that dude. And I looked on the desk, and there was this coffee mug, and I was like, I looked at Bam, I was like, dude. Like, what if I fucking took a shit in his coffee mug and then just put it back on the desk? So when he gets back from lunch, there's just a turd hanging out of his, like, and I was like, this is going to be fucking hilarious. He's like, dude, you won't do that. I'm like, I'm fucking doing it. And they're like, holy shit. Cause I knew, like, I'm out, dude. Like, there's no way I'm making it. It's January. There's like 6 months left of school, you know, like, and so then it was like, all right, I go to the bathroom. And I go into the stall and I shit in this coffee mug, and there was like the turd was like hanging over because it was like, you know, it was like a breacher or whatever, you know, it was like coming out of the, you know, so it's just like hanging out of the thing. And I come walking out of the stall, and this kid Justin, I won't say his last name, but he walked in and was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, because he could see the shit, because I was trying to like halfway cover it,
right?
But it was just a regular like mug with a handle.
Yeah, like, what?
And there's
are
like
you
a
doing?
turd, and you could just smell there's a shit in there, and like, and he's just like looking at me like, what? And I was like, what's up? You know, and I just like wandered out. Like, he was coming in to probably smoke like a joint or something, and I'm like the freak that's like shitting and things, like, you know. So like, it's like, all right, man, whatever. And I go out into the hallway, and then this other girl, her name is Christian, and my name's Christian. And I always remember, because when we were in kindergarten, her mom called the teacher and said that she had to be Christian because she's a girl and I'm Chris or whatever. So like, I always laugh, but she was like this little goody two shoes type. She's walking down the thing, and I'm like, fuck, if she sees me, like, I'm fucking done for. She's gonna tell, like, definitely. So I just panicked and then just splattered it onto the lockers, and then like took the cup and threw it in the girl's bathroom. It like smashed in there, and there's just shit all over it. And when I did it, a bunch of shit landed on my foot. So there was like a piece of shit on my shoe, and I'm like, oh fuck, it's gonna smell so bad. Like, so I go and I'm like washing it in the water fountain, just like trying to scrape it off or whatever. And then this lady starts coming out of the room, and I'm like, oh shit. So then I was getting all nervous, so I go running into the room, and Bam's like, yo, like, where's the cup? What happened? Like, I was like, dude, I was like, I don't know, dude, I don't know. And he's like, what? Like, what happened? And I was like, oh man. And I was like, dude, I fucking threw it on the lockers because I was like, Christian so-and-so was coming, and he's like, what? I was like, no, and then right then it was like quiet. You could hear the teacher that had walked out was on, like, you know, they had those long the phone with the long cord. She was like, yeah, someone defecated on the lockers in the B wing. And we could both hear it. And he was like, what? And then he just starts laughing. I start laughing. And at the time I was like, what the fuck is defecated? Like, you know, like, and I didn't even know. And then I'm like hearing these new terms for shit. And then somebody else was like, oh, there's feces on the walkie-talkie. They're like, there's feces on the locker. And you're like, feces? Not like, and it's like, I'm like, it's like
He's
in
like,
that
new
Adam
level
Sandler.
unlocked.
Yeah, it's like that Adam Sandler movie. It's like, he called the shit poop, you know, but it was that, like, I'm like, okay, feces, defecate. I'm like, I'm learning all of these new terms for turds.
He's going to make me famous one day.
Yeah. And then we sat there laughing so bad. And then the teacher's like, Margera, Raab, what's so funny? And we're like, oh, like, I don't know. Like, and then they let the other kids out because they would always let the people in the B wing out early to like make it to the rest of the school because it was kind of off. So they let all the kids out, but he was like, you guys are staying. So we all had to like stay until the bell, but the other kids got out early. So you could hear all the kids being like, oh my God, oh, dude. Like, and you could just hear everyone like getting crazy about it. And then as we go out, Bam, like he ran up to it, pointed at it, and then pointed at the principal and laughed in her face and then pointed at it. And I was like trying to just like put my head down and kind of go by. And I did. But then when I made it to the next class, I was like, oh, fuck, I'm caught, dude. Because everybody was like, yo, that was Raab. There's no way that wasn't Raab, you know? And then, like, I left that class, snuck out, ran out into the parking lot, and then they were trying to figure out where I went or whatever. And then people were, you know, they were, like, asking people who it was, whatever. I went home. The next morning, apparently, they had done a reward and the line was, like, around the door to tell on me because they were like giving a couple $100 for the reward and people were just like, yeah, I mean, it's obviously him. So
He shits a lot.
So then they call my mom and they're like, hey, yes, this is East High School. Like, we have reason to believe that your son defecated on the lockers. And she was like, yeah, he did it. And they're like, wait, what? And she's like, yeah, he did it. You know, because when I told my mom, I was like, Mom, I can't go to school today. She's like, why? I was like, well, you're
like, he was a pervert, Mom. I was trying to shit in his mug.
Yeah, totally backfired. Yeah. I blamed it on the pervert. Yeah, but it was like, it was just like, I was telling her like, oh, I shit. And then she's like, Christian, you're an animal. And I always remember being like, oh, fuck. You know, like, because when you just disappoint your mom, like my mom's the raddest person in the world. Like, just, I mean, she'd have to be my mom, you know, like, but just so awesome. But when you disappointed her, you were just bummed, you know, because it was like, fuck, I didn't mean to do that. I just
wanted to shit.
Yeah, I just wanted to shit in a pervert's mug, you know?
Right.
Can you shit on command?
There was a time, not so much now. I have a healthier diet. There was a time where I drank like crazy, and
I thought it might have been squirts.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, I think you could see it in the full speed shit and run. What were you going?
Squirts?
Oh yeah.
Like the natty splatties?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Do you have IBS?
No, I think I did. Like I was
as a teenager.
Like I'm an alcoholic, so like I'm in recovery and stuff. But yeah, at the time, I just drank all the time. So like it was just I'll that's a funny story because I drank so hard, like alcoholically, and then when I got sober, with my sponsor, we literally celebrated my first solid shit. Like we did. It was like oh my God.
Like, look at
like
it.
I'm getting healthy, you know, because like
that's
I
hardy
actually,
shit.
yeah, I got
That's
a real
good.
Turning the
solid
page.
dump.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, because it was like basically diarrhea for a decade.
Right.
You know,
That sucks.
I got IBS from drinking for all those years.
I had a funny story with that because of the 18 X-Lax that I did the full shit.
He took a bunch of X-Lax, ran, and took a shit while running full speed.
Yeah. So yeah, this is funny because of the age gap. Like, yeah,
she doesn't know
you're
anything.
not as familiar with some of that stuff, and which is good, you know. Like, but it's funny because like the things from back then that I think I'm most known for was the full speed shit and Kiki.
Oh, bro, I was just gonna ask.
Yeah.
Where did Kiki? Well, she has no idea what this is. Can you do a little Kiki for her?
Oh yeah. So Bam's cat when we were growing up, his name was actually Whiskers. But Phil used to like be like, "Hey, come here, kitty, kitty," you know, but a kitty got turned into like, come here, little Kiki, and then it just became like this weird, like we're like, was Phil calling it Kiki? Like, and then it turned into like, "Oh, come here, you little cat," you know, and you're just like, you're running after it and being like, "Kiki, come here," and then the cat's looking at you like, this guy is an idiot, you know, like, and I think that's what made it like fun, like, cause you're just like, the cat just looks at you like you're the dumbest shit in the world, and you're being all like, "Come here, I just want to pet you, cat," you know, like, and you're like, and just doing that, and then we would take the whole thing was, Bam's like, mom or whatever would always keep these like TV dinner things in the freezer, and it was like Salisbury steak. So like you go microwave it and trying to like feed it to the cat, and then the word Salisbury steak became Slewsbury stew, bro. Because we just kept changing it, like, "Oh, get a little Salisbury steak, get a little slews, oh, come on, get a little Slewsbury stew," and then it just turned into this weird. We were just doing that. Bam and I were just doing this like for an entire day to the cat, like just torturing this cat. And the cat just, but it was so funny because like the cat would just stand there and look at you like you're the dumbest shit, and like, and it just made it like,
are you giving it to me or not?
Yeah, and then just like, but the stupidity of the voice and all that with the cat like was just kind of cracking us up so bad that we filmed it, and then we sat there all night, and Bam, you know, he would edit a ton back then, so like we just sat there while he edited it. And he would put like, "All right, dude, we should put like dramatic music to it." And then you put a little dramatic music, and then it's even funnier, and then we're just laughing. And then it's like, "All right, dude, get even crazier." And then you just did it. And then it got to this point where we're like, the cat like left and is like, cause she didn't want any parts of it. So like she's lost, and she got lost in Times Square in like New York. Like it was like this whole, like, we just started going off on it. We're like, like delirious at the point. And I think as we were laughing about it and doing it, it was just like so funny to us, but we're like, nobody's going to get this, and it's going to be the dumbest thing ever. And it was kind of like, do you even put that on anything? And then for some odd reason, that's what people remember, you know, like I was saying, like they remember the full speed shit and run, because I took 18X. Like, so that was a thing that was a George Carlin bit where he was like, "I know things you'll never see. You'll never see a 7-foot Asian man with red hair. You'll never see a man taking a shit while running full speed." And Jess, Bam's brother, like basically like, cause he turned me on to Carlin when we were super young, George Carlin. And then he looked at me when we were watching them one time. He's like, "Raab, would you do that?" And I was like, "I'll fucking do that." And then that was a deal. And it was like, "How are you going to get it so you can shit?" And even though I drank a lot in those days, like I wasn't able to, like, I was like not able to just fully do it.
Did you do dry runs before without taking X-Lax?
No. Like, I mean, we knew we were going to do it. And I just knew like, I don't think I could shit right now. So they're like, "All right, let's just take some X-Lax." So then I get an X-Lax box, and it's like, take 2 to 4 of them or something, or 2 to 3 of them or something. And I was like, well, fuck that. Just take the whole thing, and then it'll guarantee that you're going to shit.
Right.
And so then I ate the whole box, and then we're sitting there for like an hour, and it was like, he's like, "Is it working?" I'm like, no, I don't have to shit at all. But then I drank like a half a cup of coffee on top of that. And then everything was loose. So it was like, "Oh, dude, get the camera. Like, we're going." And he's like, "Really?" And it's like, "Yeah, this is happening." So then we run out, go there, do the full, like, you know.
Would you just run naked?
I had a jockstrap on.
Okay.
And then so Bam was skating behind me with the camera, and then I just started running and just really just let go. And then shit just sprayed everywhere, like out of my ass. It came up the front. It was all in my nuts. Like, there was just shit everywhere, all on the front, all on the back, whatever. And as I stopped running, I'm like, this smell like wafted up so bad. It was like, dude, we gotta keep going. Like, this is fucking nasty. So I'm like, I gotta move. So I ran around to the side of his house, and at this time, like, this is the house that his family like bought in the new neighborhood, and it was like a nice neighborhood.
Not across from the shit factory.
No, not from the shit factory. This is like the new house. And it's in a nice neighborhood, and there's like nice families and everything. And I go up to the hose and just like, I'm trying to hose down my asshole because there's shit everywhere. And then I was like, all right. And as I looked under, like I was like bent down, I looked between my legs while I'm like spraying on my ass. And the neighbor was just standing there with like his 5-year-old daughter holding her hand, and they were both just looking directly up my asshole. And I was like, oh, fuck. Like, you know, because at that time you're like I had already gotten in trouble for running around naked. Like they were trying to give me like a sex offender thing or whatever. Right. And like you had to get your way out of that. And then I'm like, here I am with some young kid looking up my ass and my nuts are hanging out because I was like spraying off my everything.
Shit,
yeah. And then it's just like, fuck. So there's that.
That's our first memory ever.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, I don't know, some dude. And I wonder if she could smell my asshole like I could smell Brandon's asshole. But it was like, so then the next part of that story after that is I call my mom and I'm like, Mom, I took 18X. She's like, again, like, Christian, why would you do that? Like, she's a nurse. So like, she was like, you can't, she's like, you can like really bad things can happen from dehydration. You can fucking like, you know, you just have like major dehydration and it can cause like your organs and shit to like, basically you could have, you know,
why the fuck would you take a whole box of laxatives?
Right. And the thought was, well, fuck, I mean, I wanted to shit quick. And it didn't even really help that it was the coffee. I probably would have been fine with just the coffee, but hey, it made for the story. So then she's like, all right, look, you got to take Imodium to counteract the X-Lax. So I took Imodium. And in order to counteract it, but then what would happen was like just like World War III in your stomach because you're like, oh my God, I got to shit. And you run to the bathroom. And it's like, wait, I don't have to shit. And then, so it was the whole time you had the feeling of having to shit, but it was stopping it.
Right.
And let me get a drink of water real quick. Sorry if you get it. But so
shit really gets a man thirsty.
Yeah. So like we're there and Bam's like, all right, like let's go out to the bar that night. And I was like, all right, I feel like I'm gonna shit myself, but I'll go out. I go to the bar, we're drinking, go into that like sick bathroom that was like a 50 North and like somebody had like thrown up on it, you know, and all that. And then you just have to hover and like spray. Right. So there's throw up on it, then you just spray it down with diarrhea after that. And it was like, okay, so I come out of the thing and my stomach's feeling a little better. It was going in these things because the Imodium was wearing off, but the X-Lax was not wearing off.
Right.
So that was just going. And Bam comes up and is like, hey, dude, like, oh, that blonde hair girl's all into you. I'm like, dude, not tonight. What the fuck? No. You know, and he's like, oh, you got to do it. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, and it was like, you know, and he's like, no, dude, you got to do it. And I'm like, all right. So then I talked to this girl and it's like, you know, hitting on you, whatever. And then you're like, all right, cool. Like, and I brought her back to Bam's parents' house. We go in the bedroom, full on, like, having sex. She's on top of me, and I'm just like, oh man, like I could tell, like I'm gonna shit myself.
Oh
and like,
my God.
And so like because my stomach was all fucked up, so I was like, oh, maybe if I just like let a little out, like that was the thought. I was like, if I just like tried to let like a you know how you like sneak a cheek and just fart something.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'll do that. So I go for that, but I like shit in between my butt cheeks. So it was like. And I'm like, oh, dude, there's definitely shit like in my butt. So I'm like, I wonder if there's shit like on the sheets or whatever. But so I was like, oh man, and I was like, oh, I really need water. It's funny, I just drank water, but no, I was like, I really need some water. I got to get out of here. and so I slide out.
We're hooking up at this point.
Yeah, we're like full dick in.
Okay.
Yeah, so like, okay. And then you're like, okay. And so I'm like, oh, and I start to like slide across the bed, but trying to keep my butt cheeks together because there's shit in there. So it was like, oh my God, there's shit in there. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go get some water. And then I like snuck out. I went over into the bathroom right across the hallway and did a full like Dumb and Dumber shit myself. Like I shit. No, I go to lean down to the bathroom, fully shit all over the seat, slipped on the seat, fell off. There was like shit coming out of my butt.
You had such a tough day.
As it's happening, there's shit coming out of my butt on the seat, on the side of it. There's shit everywhere and all over me. And then I'm like, fuck. Like, how am I ever going to get like back? How am I going to go back to this room? Whatever. And then I just like quickly turn the shower on, like rinse my whole ass off, clean that off. But I hardly cleaned up anything in the bathroom. There was like shit everywhere. And I was like, I can't sit here and clean this shit up right now. So I'm just gonna like pretend like I didn't do that.
Did you get to go back in?
Yeah. So then I go back in with like 2 glasses of water, like acting like I got the
gentleman.
water. Yeah. So I go back in and it's just like, hey, what's up? And she's like, oh man, you're like super thirsty. I was like, yeah, really thirsty. And
You have no idea.
Did she ever see the shit?
no, she didn't see the shit in there. But the next morning she wakes up. We go downstairs and like April's like making pancakes for everybody, and it's just this weird like, there's like a mix of like this like Leave It to Beaver feeling of she's just over there cooking up some flapjacks, and it's like this dude's shitting all over the thing upstairs, having sex with random girls in the parents' house, and then like we're sitting there and she goes, "Wow, you were like really thirsty last night," and brought it up. And Bam goes, he wasn't thirsty, he was shitting, and like, it's like there's shit everywhere. And then he put the video on from the day before of me shitting myself on the thing. And she was like, oh my God. And she was like so uncomfortable. It was like hilarious because she was like, oh, ha, ha.
April,
like,
the girl you were fucking.
The girl that I slept with. And it was like, she's like, ha, 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 like trying to like pretend like she's in on the joke and whatever. She gets up, like walks outside, gets on the cell phone, and then just walks down the driveway and then just walks up the street and just left. Like, and it was like this weird, like, oh, I just got to take this call. And then just like, and we watched her like no one was there to pick her up. She was like, I'll just go somewhere and eventually somebody will pick me up.
Right.
But it was just so funny how we just watched her walk up the driveway,
like,
around it, and then down the tree line. And you're like, well, see you later. But it was like, that was the full day of what happened with and I've told that story before. Like I did it on stage one time, but it's just quite an experience of So, but shit was a major part of my life.
Dude, all right, so
Some people like cannot handle shit.
what do you mean?
Like you can't talk about it. You can't allude to it. Like as if we all don't do it.
Well, that's what I find so ironic.
I shit every time I get here. I have to shit before we start the show. I shit.
Yeah.
Like I probably shit.
I went in there to take a pee. It smells like that.
Oh, that was Robbie.
Yeah. I was like, so there was a hot, fresh one in there.
That's a Puerto Rican butthole, not this Irish butt.
But like, no, people will literally you shut it down. I know girls in high school, if they would like go away to college to see their boyfriend, they would not shit while they were there.
That's
and I'm
hilarious.
like, how do you not shit?
Well, Bam's brother had this girlfriend when we were in high school that swore that she didn't shit. And then Jess started being like, yeah, I don't think she does. I'm like, dude, shut the fuck.
What is she, fucking Kim Jong-un?
It was like this whole thing of like, Jess, you cannot believe that. And he's like, well, and then like if she wasn't there, he'd be like, yeah, I don't, but like if she was there, he's like, no, like, and like all defending her, like while she's over there lying straight to her face, like, I just don't shit. Like, yeah, what?
Right.
Like,
that's what
there's
I'm
not
saying.
a human here that doesn't. And if you don't, like, what does it do? Just come out of your mouth? Like in that South Park episode? Where
right.
Just turds coming out the mouth. But anyway, yeah. So this is really going off the rails.
This is better than I could ever, like this is like my childhood. Like this is them explaining to me how they made like Mickey Mouse for the first time for older people. Like, I was like, I wanted to know. I was like, I got to know about this. What happened after the shit? You just gave me the full story. It's amazing. So there's other questions that are like, I have friends that obviously I grew up with, and I asked, I was like, is there anything you would want to ask Raab if you had the chance? Did you really marry the Russian bride?
No, I tried to, but MTV Legal wouldn't let me do it.
You wanted to, and they're like, nah.
Yeah, I was in a drunken state. I was drunk for a while there, and I honestly was just in the simplistic thought of like, dude, I fucking, I'm on the road. I do this, like, and like, this is chauvinistic and stupid and whatever. And I think I've evolved from then, but. I think, but I think at the time it was just like, it would be nice to just have like a wife that could just do all the wife shit.
Right.
And then I'll just go like on the road, do whatever. And then there'll be like a nice fresh pair of pants and whatever, like you thought back then, like
she'll buy me jeans.
She did her goddamn woman's work, then we would be all right,
Yeah,
but like,
I mean, you bought a bride.
Yeah, get my bride to do her bride thing. But I think that was the mindset then when you're a dumb kid. But it was like, oh no, this will be funny, and like, and then I was like, no, but I should really do it because it would be a funny story to like then get divorced on the show or what, and to just have it be real. And they were like, no, absolutely not. Basically, no, because if you sign that, then she'll get a part of this thing. And they actually saved my ass on that because I was stupid enough to have done something like that at the time because I was just drunk all the time and didn't give a shit.
Right.
But then they nixed it. And then so no.
Was she a real person or was she like an actress?
A real person? She wasn't I think she was Russian. She wasn't an actual mail order bride.
Okay.
But she was like, yeah, she was basically, they got her to like do the part, like, and it's such always, cause this is always a bummer when people hear that, but like, no, she was a girl that was from Russia that was willing to like play a Russian mail order bride.
Right.
And then, like you wouldn't call anybody that was on anything we did an actress, but like, like she literally didn't say a word in the whole thing, so, but yeah, then it was just like, we couldn't do the actual marrying of a Russian mail order bride. So like, cause MTV Legal got involved and wouldn't let it happen. So then it had to become this like just Russian girl that was willing to. But yeah, so that's always a bummer though when people are like, "Oh, you didn't really marry?" You're like, nah, never. And it's funny though because I have like an Instagram and it'll be that like, it's like, hey guys, I just because I've been doing a lot of running, so I ran the LA Marathon and I was like, oh cool, I'm psyched on the LA Marathon, and then like 1 down, it's like, where's Kiki? And then 2 down, it's like, did you shit while you were running? And then 3 down, it's like, well, where's the Russian bride? Like, so it's like, it's the that's the whole exact. But I think it's awesome. Like it's like, not that I'm not complaining about it at all. I just mean it's awesome that I got to be a part of something that like people watched and loved and have good memories of, and I'll take that every day of the week if somebody asks me about the Russian bride because it's funny. It's like, dude, it was an idea that I had in Iceland because when I went there for the first time, it was like just blown away. Like, I swear to God, these are the most attractive women in the whole world. Like, it was like, these women in Iceland are like insanely gorgeous. And I said that to Bam, like, dude, I wish I could just get a mail order bride from Iceland. And he's like, what? Is that a thing? I was like, yeah, you never heard of Russian mail order bride? And then he's like, really? And then I was like, yeah, dude, you could just get one. And he's like, nuh-uh. No, like, and then that's how that storyline of that episode became. But it was really because of Iceland. I wanted an Iceland mail order bride, not a Russian one. But like,
for specifics.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, like, Iceland, to me, I was like, God.
I was pissed.
Because there is, no. Like, either way. But I mean, just like, when you travel the world, you're like, there's a different look of people from different countries and things. And Iceland was like these beautiful people. I mean, guys and girls, like, but just, it was like, God damn, it just, so that was the idea. That's where that came about.
I think it's crazy that like your inside jokes like Kiki.
Yeah.
It's just your friends' inside jokes that became like one of the most famous things
I know
ever said on camera.
It's kind of crazy, and that's why I say like you never could have known that like some dumb cat thing would be like.
Well, when you were saying that, like, oh, we just like didn't really think it was going to be anything. We just like put it up because we thought it was funny. Like that's why it probably worked. You know what I mean? It's like authentic. Exactly. Like, it was like you guys thought it was hilarious, and you were doing it because you thought it was funny, and it was fun. And that's it. Yeah. And so like that reads well, I feel like.
Yeah. And I think at times too, like when you would start to try to think what you thought somebody would like, that was the worst.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, like that idea of we didn't think anything of it. It was just funny. It was natural. I think that's always what I said, why I thought CKY, Jackass, any of that stuff was successful was because everybody's group of friends were already doing the same thing. Everybody could relate. Everybody's fucking with each other like that, making funny things, doing funny things to make each other laugh. And so that's why I thought it got successful, is because the chemistry of a friendship, of like the group of friends, everybody had the group of friends that was doing the same thing. So it wasn't like, oh, we just came up with some whole new thing. It was like, no, this is what everyone's doing. That's why people were like, holy shit, you could just do that and then it would be a show, like no one ever thought that.
Like we just
happened to have a camera.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was because Phil Margera, Bam's dad, got this big old VHS camera back in the day to film Bam skateboarding because Bam was a good skater when we were young. Like we all skated, but Bam just had this like extra bit of crazy. Like, all right, fuck, I'll launch off of this. There was a 2-story shed that that was like made into that Phil made into a fort. And we were on this little skate team called Team X, and like it was like the neighborhood kids, and we just made it up. And April would cut X's in the back of our hair, and like that was our little punk thing when we were young kids. You know, we were like 8 or 10, and at that point, it's like, all right, I'm gonna drop in on the half pipe, and Bam's like, I'm gonna launch off the 2nd story of the fort into the ramp, and you're like, that was when you're just like, dude, this dude is above what the fuck any of us are doing. You know, like, and that
you're like, wait, what?
Right, and that was just so obvious. So Phil bought that camera, kind of getting the sponsor me tapes together, because back in the day, that's what you had to do, is get a little tape together to show people like, oh, this is what I do, all my skate tricks and all that stuff, and then that's what got the local skate shop Fairman's to sponsor them. And then other skate companies and stuff started to see that because of that. But because Phil bought that camera, we had access to it, and we would do a bunch of stupid skits and dumb things. And so it really was just that it's just like anybody else. We just had the camera documenting it, and that's what made it. And that's why I always felt like it became successful, because everyone could relate, because everyone was doing it. Because people would go, we did that before you. I'm like, I know, you probably did. You know, and I'm like, yeah, my dad was like pushing people in shopping carts, and he's 35 years older than us. So like, yeah, we're definitely not the first. And I think that's why it worked.
That's why most like people like friendship, like even with Impractical Jokers now, the reason it works is because the guys have inside jokes. There's a chemistry that you can't manipulate with hiring actors to play something.
Yeah.
But so
basically, just record whatever you want to record and just put it out.
Well, and that's where the world is now. I mean, at this point, I feel like I'm this dinosaur when it comes to like knowing what the hell's going on with social media.
But you're like not at the same time.
You guys invented it, basically.
Yeah, I would not take any credit for that. But I just mean like, it seems like now it's way more accessible, and it's awesome because people get to like just do what you're doing. Like, I mean, you see some of the funniest stuff. Like, I'll say like the memes and the things people put together out there is just the funniest shit. Like, and it's because they have access to be able to do that and make that happen so quick and get that out there. Whereas when we were younger, you had to make the video, like shop it out of like your trunk at a skate park, and then get to somebody to put it in the shop, and then do the shop thing, and then they talk about it, and it was a whole different kind of like way of doing it. And like now, you're like, all right, I did this funny ass thing, and I'm going to put it up, and I'm going to have a reaction from it. Like,
and you can just like tag like Vans or whatever. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, then someone could see it way faster. Whereas before it's like you're hustling literal tapes. Yeah. So it's rad to know like now, and that's what's really cool. I mean, it can get inundated with a bunch of nonsense, but it also can be some really cool, like inspiring, funny people that do like I always say that to my friends. I'm like, dude, it's amazing how fucking funny people are, because you just go on there and look at a meme or look at a thing, and you're like, that is brilliant and hilarious. And like just the way that everybody kind of gets their stuff now is so good. And and it's rad. And you just like, it's really crazy, because back then we were like, Bam's dad was like one of the only ones with a video camera. Right. In the 80s, like nobody had those. Right. So then now it's like, oh shit, everybody has it right here in their pocket. Yeah. So there's nothing stopping you from being creative if you want to. If you wanted to, yeah.
Is there like a favorite stunt that you have that you've ever done?
A favorite? I kind of hated all of them. No, I mean, no, there's a super politically incorrect one that I don't know it always makes me laugh, because it was with Rye, and I just love that, because there's a funny memory. We basically got like naked and did this like butt fucking thing on roller. The roller. I love that. That's your favorite. I just liked his stuff like snuggling up against my cheeks, but no, it was funny to me because like, he didn't know, like I played ice hockey in high school for a couple years, and I played a lot of street hockey. So like I could rollerblade, but I wouldn't openly say that because we all skated, so I wasn't out there like hitting the boxes with my blades, but I was like, all right, I can rollerblade because I have a hockey stick, you know, like, and I always was like, that made it okay. Because back in the day, like rollerblading was like, you don't do that. If you're a skater, like, don't do it because you're at a skate park, everybody's hard, and then some rollerblader dude like gets in there and fucks the whole thing up. So like that was the mentality back then in the 80s or into the 90s, early 90s when rollerblades kind of came around. And so I was like, well, if you have a hockey stick, it's okay. Yeah. You know, so and I played hockey, and then I ice skated because I was on the hockey team for a little bit, and so when we went out there and did this, we're like skating through the park, and that's the only way I say, like, it's not really a stunt, but it turned into one because we're rollerblading, and then I'm in the front and Ryan's in the back just like pumping me as we're going by, and like you know, it's just like naked dudes in the park just like butt sex as we're like riding down the path, and people were like, what the fuck, like, you know, people that are walking in the park, like just like some nice mom and like a neighborhood dad just like, what is like,
were you guys actually naked though?
I had the jockstrap on the front. He was naked,
so his dick was actually
it was nestled into my my love buns. God. But yeah, that's what I was saying. Like it didn't change me. I wasn't like, oh, I'm into dudes now. It was just like, hey, this is fine. This is comfy. And look, and the way that I know that he wasn't into it is he didn't get erect. You know, it was just it was a limp dick. So
Science,
it wasn't gay. But no, I remember Tremaine had always said that, like, because I said something about Novak one time with something in his limp dick, and he's like, well, technically it's not gay, it's limp. I'm like, that's a good point, actually.
Right.
But yeah, no. So when that's happening, we're like pumping, going down the road, and I'm like, okay, we're done. So like, just slow down because we're like cruising down the hill on the rollerblades, getting faster and faster. So as we break out of the sex position, then Ryan like didn't know how to rollerblade.
So couldn't stop.
Yeah, and then I just like did like a hockey stop and stop. He's like, "What the fuck?" And like as he's flying by, he's like, "How do you know how to stop?" And then like he couldn't stop, and he went flying and broke his arm.
Butt naked.
Yeah, and he broke the bone right in here. Like it's this really hard bone to like break, and it's really hard to fix. So he had to end up getting screws in his arm because he couldn't stop, and he went flying, and he was all pissed. He was so much more pissed at me that he didn't know that I knew how to rollerblade because he thought.
Why wouldn't you tell me?
But he's like, yeah, he thought we were both just getting into this and just going down a hill on rollerblades, and like we didn't know, so we're both fucked. And then I just like exited out and like stopped all nice, and he's like, what? You know, like, and then broke his arm. Yeah, and broke his arm, and I forget this is this weird bone because there's like the two bones, and then there's this weird little bone in there, but yeah, he had to get screws from it, and he was always pissed at me for it. Like, but it was just funny. So that was like not a stunt, but
was that Jackass or CKY?
It had to be CKY because Jackass wouldn't put it on.
Yeah.
But so that's what CKY 3 was basically the outtakes of shit that was not allowed to be on Jackass.
What was like the merging of the CKY and Jackass guys like?
A match made in heaven. I don't know.
I don't know, like behind the scenes.
How did that happen?
So through skateboarding. So Jeff Tremaine was the like head editor of Big Brother Skate magazine, and that was like this gnarly skate magazine that had just like tits on it, you know, like some dude's dick hanging out, like somebody else eating a pile of dog shit to get some trucks and like for skate trucks, and like it was just like this crazy magazine that was like all of like the like, you know, like subculture sort of stuff that like everybody was interested in. Like Thrasher and Transworld were like just like regular skate.
Right.
And this was like, oh man, there was a set of tits and then some dude's nuts were hanging, and there was like photos
just
of crazy
OD,
shit.
like just extra.
Yeah. And so those guys like Tremaine, so Knoxville worked at the magazine to do like some art. He was like doing articles, writing articles of like funny shit, and he was doing this whole thing of like the what is it? I'm drawing a blank right now, but the when you're like doing
he did the pepper spray, he got tased,
self-defense stuff, like he did a self-defense test, and he was like pepper spraying himself, tasing himself. He shot himself at one point, but they wouldn't let him use that, so like he put on a bulletproof vest and shot himself with a .38 And nobody wanted to film it, so he went out in the woods. Like, it's actually in the dumb Big Brother documentary. It's pretty gnarly, dude. Knoxville's a gnarly dude. Like, everyone will be like, "Oh, Steve-O's the craziest," and Steve-O's crazy, and he'll do wild shit. But Knoxville's the dude, like, where you're like, dude, he's just getting in the ring with that bull again. Like, fuck.
For why?
Like, yeah, and like, I mean, he'll just do stuff that, like, for some reason isn't as over the top crazy seeming when you do it, and you're like, that's actual death right there. Right. And like, and just the stuff he does is like, he's the fucking gnarliest dude. Like,
I'll piss on guys, but I'm not getting shot.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and like just getting hit, like flipped by that bull and stomped. You're like, dude, holy shit. Like, he's crazy, like crazy. But anyway, those guys were all doing stuff, and Pontius is a skateboarder, Wee Man's skateboarder. Wee Man's name is Jason Acuna, but like, but yeah, they skated, and they would be in the Big Brother magazine. There was clips of them doing all this, and Pontius is always just like a funny kind of eclectic dude that would just be, like weird sense of humor and those stuff. And so Tremaine loved him so much, put him in the magazine. Steve-O was a wild ass that was just trying to always film stuff and send it to Tremaine to get into the magazine. So the magazine was like their whole thing. And they came out to Philly when we were probably like maybe 14 or 15. They came out and shot a photo of Bam ollieing over Phil in this like at this little like train station spot in Philly. And they put that in the magazine, and then that created the relationship between Bam and Tremaine, and that just kept going for a couple of years. And then when we made the CKY videos, Tremaine was like, "Yo, I'm in the process of," because Big Brother had made a video called Crap, I think, and then and that was similar to what we were doing. And what we were doing was, I mean, the similar-ish stuff, similar sensibility, but like different things. And so Tremaine was a mastermind behind it, seeing it like, yo, if I get the dudes that I'm doing this with and get Bam and the dudes that are doing it there, and we get together, then we have this awesome like team of people all doing the craziest shit. And it's like a whole cast of people. And so then he took clips from the self-defense thing with Knoxville, and then clips from the Big Brother video, and then clips from CKY, put that together, and that made the pilot of Jackass. So then that was brought to MTV and Comedy Central, but MTV took it and bought it, and Spike Jonze was the main connection there, because Tremaine and Spike are friends, and Spike was involved in skateboarding and BMX stuff, and so he was in that world as well. And it was just all kind of, everybody knew everybody through skateboarding, and that's what brought it all together. But when we first started doing it, I remember I always laugh, and I tell Tremaine that, because like he's like probably 10 years older than me, and I'm 43 now, but I was 19 when we were doing the pilot. And he came out, and him and Knoxville, maybe Tremaine's 11 or 12 years older. So like he was like 30, 31, and Knoxville was like 29. At the time, like PJ's, that's Knoxville, that's his like real name, was like Philip John, but then he went by Johnny for the show, and Knoxville's where he's from. It's not his real last name, so like, right. But when we met him as PJ and Jeff, and I remember being like to Bam, like, who are these old ass fucking dudes?
Hanging out with teenagers.
Around. Yeah, like, because we were Bam and I were both like, now Bam had just turned 20 and I was 19, but we were the same year. And like our other friend who was old, Rake, was like 24, so like 30 was like, you're old as dirt, right. And I always tell Trey that, he's like, oh, motherfucker. And I'm like, no, but like, it seems old, and then when you get to be 29, you're like, I'm young as shit. Right. But I didn't know that. And like, so I just remember being like, who are these old ass dudes? And then over the course of like the week or two that they were there when we were filming the pilot stuff, we just became so close with them, like, because they're just funny as fuck, and there was the exact same,
like, they matched your energy,
sense of humor and everything. Right. And I tore my rotator cuff like in a shopping cart thing on the first episode of Jackass. And Knoxville immediately ran in, like helped grab my arm. Like I had to put it on his head because he's tall. Right. And my arm was stuck like this, like out of the socket. So he's like, 6', 6'1" or something. And like, it was like, oh, okay, I got to keep it up there on his head. And he just helped. And right away, just like, oh, this dude's like, he's one of our boys. And it was just like immediately a connection. And again, just the same funniness. And like, as you go through life, you realize how special that is. I think when you're younger, you don't think about it as much, but you realize how special it is that somebody has the same sense of humor as you, and that like you don't feel like you have to censor yourself to somebody. When you're around some people, you're like, is it okay if I say shit?
Yeah.
And like with them, it was just, there was never a thought. It was just immediately the same vibe.
Right.
And that's how we got close. And then, and same with Steve and Dave England and Pontius and everybody. Like, I mean, all of them, obviously Aaron and Jason and Preston as well. And it was just like a connection. Like when we went out to California too, and we would be in the offices and starting as it was starting, it just like, they just became your brothers. You just were laughing and you're going through like, and not to compare it to that, but you're going through war together because you're kind of like somebody's shitting on your face, like, and things are, and you're just having to get over it, laugh at it and do that. Like that creates a bond. It's
cool too though, because I feel like a lot of guys are not down to like mesh with new guys.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you have your boys and then you're like, who is that?
Yeah.
And you're skeptical at first.
So that's cool that like everyone was just like, no, this is like
what
it is now.
It felt instantly like they were already your friends anyway.
Right. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Speaking of similarities, do you feel like Dave England stole your shtick? Because he's like a big shit guy too.
Stole it? No. He just always did that.
He always did. You guys both were. You guys like met each other like shit guys.
Yeah, we're shit brothers that were separated at birth. I think.
Like the Mighty Ducks when the two guys meet.
Like where
the
I
Bash Brothers meet. You guys are like, you shit too.
Yeah, we're shit brothers for life.
It's like a fetish. I feel like when I went to high school, there was like a pooping bandit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
the same
the thing.
thing in high school.
They always
he
put
would shit in the water fountains, in the locker, in the elevator.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a thing. I mean, it's definitely a thing because it is like a fetishy thing, I guess. I mean, I'm not the dude that's like, please take a shit on my chest, but I mean, if you did it, whatever. But I think like we just always had that same sense of humor. But dude, when I was doing my podcast back then, Dave came on and we just like exchanged shit stories for the whole time. But I fucking love Dave. He's funny as hell. No, I would never. It was never like he took my or anything. Like we just both had that same sense of humor.
You guys both just love shit.
Funny.
Yeah, I love it.
And it is. We could really like sit for days and share shit stories together. And he's like, to me, he's one of the funniest dudes. And not to be about that, but I just feel like, and not that I say he's underrated, but he's a dude. Him and Pontius, and Brandon DiCamillo, like. Those guys are dudes that like I could just roll on the ground fucking laughing for days being around them. They're just the funniest fucking people. Like Dave and Pontius too. Like out of the guys that were from out west, and then DiCamillo, obviously he's just a brilliant comedy mind. But those two, like the sweetest people. They're the people I keep in touch with a lot. Pontius is his son was due the same day as my daughter, so like our babies were born very close to the same date and stuff. So we became parents at the same time, and there's such an awesome bond there between that, and also they're just fucking funny. But yeah, Dave England is like, dude, I love that dude. He's hilarious.
I would love to see you guys just like shitting together.
Have a shit off.
Like, oh my god. Yeah. So speaking of
anyway, hi, how are you?
Literally, I'm like Justin and the shit.
So speaking about you were speaking about Deco earlier. So I watched Borrow Happiness the other day. Great movie. So it's kind of a movie to describe. It's like a movie about guys that spend all of the time drinking at a bar, no matter what's going on around them. Like no matter how bad their life is falling apart around them, they're all just drinking.
Yeah, that was like, I would call it like my film school, like short film that I did, kind of like in the sense of, I went to college. I did get a degree in that, but at that time where I went, Shippensburg was like not really. They gave me a degree because I was on MTV basically, but I did the work or whatever, but like it wasn't. You weren't going there to be like, oh, okay, I'm going to get like introduced to Scorsese. Like if you go to fucking USC, like that's a real film school. Like, so where I went at the time, and I think, it's evolved insanely in the last 20 years because that was 20 years ago. But at the time, it was like, there was like a squirrel's nest in the van where we were supposed to film the basketball game. So it was not like top tier film school. But that's what I did. So I always had an interest in making film and doing that stuff. So later on after the Viva La Bam years and things like that, I was like, oh, I want to figure out how to direct and do that stuff. So that's what Borrowed Happiness was. It was this opportunity to like learn how to do the process of it. I mean, obviously we did Haggard, but I was just like a little part in front of the camera in that. And then this was like I did my chance to like learn producing and directing and things. So there's a lot of mistakes in it. There's a lot of things that I learned from doing that. But it was so fun to work with friends and just have a good time. But yeah, the storyline was I had just gotten sober, and I had this like, you know, the concept of borrowing your happiness from the bottle. You know, so it was like, oh, this is too serious. You know, like I don't give a shit. This is what I want to do. This is where I'm at in my life. And like sometimes, you know, like if you're the guy that shits on things, you're like, just go back to shitting on things. You're like, oh, yeah, that's cool too. But like I want to do this. So so I did that, and I did it with a friend of mine that we had bartended together when we were younger, and we had this funny thing of like, dude, these same people come in and like Miller Lite Dave gets the Miller Lite every time, like Gin and Tonic Jeff gets that. And there's this. And there was a dude who came in who was an artist, and he would like hang his paintings around the bar. And then like, you know, you'd always be like, yeah, it's cool, but like $3,000? Who the hell's going to buy that? You know? And people would though, because it was like at this bar where there was like rich people. But it was just funny to us. There was always the guy that like, he came in dressed to the nine, like the ladies' man kind of guy. And you're like, this is not the bar to be the ladies' man at. Like there's maybe one divorcee over there and she's taken. But like, you know, so it was just like these kind of people. And together we wrote this thing where we're like, oh man, there's these characters are all kind of the same. And we wrote them down and just put this kind of little script together, and then made it with Brandon and Rake and Bataro and Lord Bataro from CKY, if you know, Mustard Man. Shout out to Mustard Man. But yeah, so then we went and made this, and it was a lot of fun. It was a super amazing like learning experience to just figure out, okay, this whole process. And at the time, that's when I was getting into the camera work and becoming a cinematographer and doing that. And that's what I do now. I like that's what my main gig is producing and doing all the cinematography for videos and stuff. But then it was like I was learning, so it was like, you know, I would say it's not some cinematic masterpiece, but it was fun to like do it. And Brandon was awesome as always.
Where did the rabbit painting come from?
Our friend Bethany, she was an awesome artist. She did it, and it was like last minute too, because we were like, hey, because there was this painting in the bar we were at where the dude did this like, I think it was like a take on like a comic book cover, but it was like this big turtle, and there was like a weird like Jeep driving out of the thing, and then we're like, what the hell? So we did a take on that. Instead of the turtle, she did like the hair. Yeah. You know, like so it was a rabbit, and with like a what, I forget what was on it. It was like a gun or something. I can't remember exactly. But it was like, it was.
Zeke was obsessed with it in the movie.
Yeah. And so he was playing the artist, you know, and then like doing his work or whatever, and he was trying to sell it. And then really what it was like the bar owner just wanted to buy it so he could take it off the wall and get rid of it. But like, yeah, he wanted to get rid of it, but was acting like he loved it.
Yeah. Did you really sing in the movie?
Did I really what?
Sing.
No.
You play the singer. No, I didn't think so. Girl was like, you think he's singing that? I was like, I don't think that's his voice.
Wait, what voice? What was it?
You were singing at the bar.
Yeah, no, I know, but I don't remember who's. I don't know.
It sounded good, but I was
no, then it wasn't me. Yeah, definitely wasn't me. I can't sing to save my life. But no, yeah, I have an awful voice. But no, I think that was like this take off Flock of Seagulls mixed with Doyle or from Danzig. Or no, is it Doyle that does the full point?
I can't remember.
I think it's Doyle, yeah, and or from not Danzig. What am I talking about? From Misfits. But he did that like that point with his hair, and so that was kind of the take on that. I did this weird point with my hair, and then it was like Flock of Seagulls mixed with like some other weird thing, but yeah, no, it was just kind of fun just to like goof around with friends and learn that. But it was fun to have Brandon in it, and like he's always funny. Like we pretty much like when we write the script, it's like, all right, and then Raab will say this, and then Brandon's is just blank, and then it goes to the next thing, and then you just don't fill in any of his dialogue.
Just let him.
Yeah, you're like, just let him do whatever he's gonna do, because whatever it is gonna be way better than I could ever think of. So that's how you do it with Brandon. Like, I mean, his mind works in a whole different way. So
yeah, he's on a different level.
Yeah.
Every time God, CKY the rap was crazy.
Yeah.
Everything he's done.
That we always say that stuff would get you canceled quick now.
Yeah,
but,
you can't do the CKY rap.
Yeah. But it was funny then, like when you're allowed to be offensive and people knew you didn't mean it.
Yeah,
dude,
I can still rap that entire song.
Oh yeah.
Like, there's like a few songs I can rap in its entirety. CKY rap.
Ho Chi Man, shoot a little on the chin. Yeah.
That was probably the first song I learned from like first word to last word.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Was that a freestyle? He just came with that?
Yeah. No, he did a whole ton of them. Yeah, like that one stuck out because it was just so like he just kept going and it was ridiculous. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of them that he does that's just, and he's like that. And he did a bunch of prank calls too. That like, I don't know if you ever heard those, but yeah.
Bro, you know who you're talking to?
Yeah.
Huge fan.
But like the one where he just calls up like the dog fence thing, and he just goes like, like he's like, I want, he's like, how many callers do you want? He's like, well, I have call waiting, and he goes into like this whole thing about like how many callers he could have on his phone. It's like, no, I'm talking about like dog collars, because he wanted to do a dog fence for kids. He called up and was like, I have a like a daycare, and I want to put in a dog fence and then have the kids wear the collars so that they won't get out. And the lady's like, what? We can't do that. And he's like, no. It's like between you and me, like nobody has to know, And she's like, no, we can't. And then he just goes into this whole riff on this whole thing. But like his ability to just make stuff up on the fly is so, yeah.
Speaking of fly, I've really got to piss. I'll be right back.
Cool.
Man. What do you have to poop?
Yeah. I'll join you.
I like the swing because I do lean back and I do have to look like this a lot because I do ask people questions. Maura just kind of is a fairy tale, fairy garden, whatever she is.
Yeah.
She's a little whatever.
Fairy tale, fairy garden. Yes.
Yes.
That.
Speaking of fairy tales, do you have a scat kink?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Scat.
Because remember you were asking, because I love
shit.
everything to do with shit. Oh, you know what's funny? Because scat porn is like huge in Germany or whatever.
We've watched it a few times.
I went over. I might have seen it, but no, we went over. It was so funny. We were over there with CKY band. I toured with them a lot when we were younger, and we went all around the world and shit. And like we were in Berlin, I think, and the guys were like, oh my God, it's Raab himself. Raab himself, are you going to Scheiße on the stage? And I was like, no. But we said, like, my one buddy always says that, like, you're going to Scheiße on the stage? And no, but I just never got into, like, I don't need somebody to shit on me. I don't want to shit on anybody while I'm fucking. Like, that's not.
They don't need to cross.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you ask, I always joke, like, if you asked anybody I ever had sex with, like, he's pretty average. It's boring. and then like, and I'm a pretty vanilla person when it comes to that. There was a period of time where, like, if you're running around having fun, you're with a strange person and they're like, oh, this dude must want to get punched or kicked or choked or whatever. I'm like, I'm not fucking into that. Like, right. There'll be somebody like, oh, well, fuck, he probably needs his nipples tweaked all hard. You're like, oh, God damn it. But you just dealt with it because it was like, all right, that was the thing. Or they'll bite you real hard. And you're like, I'm not into this. Like, but
I need a safety word.
I'm a boring person.
I just want to have normal sex.
I seem wild on a video, but like, it was like, and especially as I've gotten older, for sure, just like, oh man.
Has your daughter seen like your old stuff?
No, she's 3.
Okay. Yeah. Are you nervous?
I think I'm a better parent than that.
For her to figure it out.
3 years old, just like Clockwork Orange her eyes and make
Not
her
right
watch
now,
all of my
I'm just
shit.
saying, like, when she's like 18.
Suckle Ryan helping the shit out of me.
Yeah. Suckle Ryan.
Like, imagine being like 13 years old and realizing like your dad, like, like the rollerblades and the, you know what I mean? Like, you'd be like, Dad, what the heck?
I certainly didn't think that through back then.
Right.
I remember it was funny because April would say that to me. So the day that I did this shit, she's like, Chris, what the fuck are you doing? Like, how are you going to get a job? Like, how, and the irony of that was
you got the job from shitting.
Yeah. Like after the Jackass days and all that, like when I was going on set to like go film a show, people were like, yo, that's the dude from Jackass. He fucking shit on things. Like, get him the gig. I was like, dude, it got me so many jobs. Like, and it was funny that she, like, that was the whole thing. It was like, you're never going to get a job. And I was like,
Right.
it actually helped everything.
The best resume of all time is you running and shitting.
Yeah.
And saying Kiki.
Yeah. Because it's like, oh man, there's an icebreaker. They're like, all right, this dude is not going to be uppity. You know, like he's going to be like down to earth one of us, because that's the kind of the shit. And it just works that way. And then it helped it out. But I think to answer that question, I think like the only one like in my family that's old enough is my one nephew, or two nephews now. They've seen some things, and but my sister-in-law, like, and my brother, they'll just like show them like, oh, he did the naked Zamboni at the ice rink and that was funny, you know, like something that was on Jackass or whatever, like, and that stuff's funny. Like, I don't know that they're just like hopping right into the he shit all over himself video, but like, but I'm sure they found it and they know, like, and it's all good, you know, like
savage.
Right. And like, and we live in a time now, I think, where that stuff's not even outlandish. Like,
and it's like how it's delivered to them probably too.
Yeah.
You know, if it's like their parents are like, yeah, like this is what Uncle Chris used to do. It's like, what? And it's just like funny. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just like whatever.
And I think like in 2000, like when Jackass came out, we did the pilot in like early 2000, I think. Yeah, early 2000 we did the pilot. Then it aired in October. And when it came out, like Senator Lieberman's like, this show has to be canceled. This is the worst thing in the world. Like, every kid's trying to do these stunts, and like, this was awful. And it was like, what are we doing? We're corrupting our youth. And like, the truth was, we probably were, but
100%.
But like now, when you look at like what's acceptable, like
it's like a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, like like I always joke, like you go into a grocery store right now and it's like they'll be like, drop that beat, suck that dick, bitch, suck that dick. I'm like, that's fucking grandma over there, and they're just like smacking balls around in the song. You're like, what the fuck? Like, this is just cool now? Like, you know, because back then you're like, you did something like that.
There was like a standard.
Yeah, what we were doing was like offensive, and now you're like, this isn't offensive. They're like, that's cute. You know, and like, oh, you shit on yourself and you run around, hey, that's cute. And then now it's just like this other level. Right. So I feel like when my daughter's old enough, like, it'll just be like boring. Like, dad's a nerd.
Right.
You know,
like why would
all
you
did was get Ryan Dunn's dick up your butt. That's it.
Yeah.
It wasn't even hard, Dad.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, it was lamp.
She's like, you couldn't even get him hard.
Yes, exactly. It's embarrassing now when you say it in that way. Yeah. So I didn't have anything he was interested in. I understand. But yeah. No, it's funny. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just, you don't think about it, but then eventually it'll be whatever.
Right.
So you were speaking about...
She's my kid. Her sense of humor is probably going to be...
similar.
Fucked. Yeah.
Right.
She is funny as shit, and she's only 3. Like, she's already hilarious with every little thing. Like weird little, like, damn, that was fucking funny.
Right. You're like, oh, she's good.
Yeah. Do you find it ironic having to clean up her shit?
Oh, it's amazing. It checks all the boxes, right? I mean, I've got a shit fetish, and now here I get to do it on a regular basis. No, but really, at this point, she's out of that phase. She just shits right in the toilet, So she's a big girl now. But yeah, no, it was funny, man. Like. And that's, I think, what we talked about like everybody shits and how people make it like it's awkward. It's like, dude, eventually you're a parent and you're wiping somebody's shit, and don't act like you're not. Like, if you were not, they're just sitting in a shit diaper.
Yeah, like you're an asshole.
Yeah. So like, so eventually you're just like, all right, they're shitting, I'm shitting, we're all shitting. Like, everybody, if you're eating, you're shitting. So, so then it just, I think as a parent, it makes it way easier too, because you're not like, oh no, there's a stinky poop.
Right.
You're
That's
just like, get in there.
I hang out with this guy, and I'll take my dog on walks, and I'll have to obviously pick up the shit because I'm not a trash individual.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I'm a trash individual if I forget a bag, whatever. But usually I'm
you're
picking
that
up
person,
the
like,
shit.
if I go
You
for a
said
run.
usually. How many times out of like, so give me
like if it's like a week?
Yeah, like how many times out of 4 would you say? Like
out of 4 weeks?
No, just say the dog poops 4 times. How many times out of 4 times are you picking up the poop?
No, like 4. Out of like
10,
15 times?
Yeah.
Like 10, 11.
Oh no, so there's
That's
like 4 random shits out there. Because that's the thing.
But my dog like curbs himself. Like he will find a curb. Like I have a big pit bull, but he will like. He's very particular about where he poops.
He's a dainty shitter.
He likes to poop on grass, which we live in the city. It's not really the vibe.
I get it.
He'll find like a squirt of.
I like to poop on grass too. Yeah.
And I think it lessens the blow. It's just like a nice little. Cushion.
There's no splash, like like when you shit in a toilet and then just the splash kisses you.
But he'll go under like the back of a car and like get against the curb. So he'll like shit like right under someone's back tire basically, and I'm like, oh, whatever, fuck it.
That's great. And it just splatters their car.
It's not like someone's gonna
you're
step
a fucking
in
terrorist,
it
bro,
because it's under a bumper.
Yeah, but then their tire's gonna just spray the shit all over their car.
You're a fucking terrorist, Maura.
Well, whatever.
It's so funny because I think like back in the day there was just shit fields everywhere. Like no one ever picked up their dog shit. Like this happened. Like I think this happened like 20 years ago. But before that it wasn't like that.
I stepped in shit at least once a week as a kid.
Yeah, I mean, and everybody's yard was filled with dog shit.
You remember at my house? Yeah. We all hung out at my house. It was a trampoline, but we had 2 dogs and there was just shit everywhere. I was like, watch the shit. Nobody picked it up.
Like no one was doing that. But then nowadays, I feel like we got so spoiled that like if someone doesn't, like the other day, I went for a run and I stepped in the turd. And I was so annoyed, like, yo, clean up your shit. And then I'm like, whatever. Because ultimately, at the end
of it. What goes around comes around.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, you can't be too annoyed, like, oh, I stepped in a little shit while, like, Carol, the fucking janitor, had to clean my shit off of the locker.
Right.
That was the biggest bummer about that whole thing was, like, the sweetest lady that I love the most is who they're, like, putting up to the job. It's
right.
Like, oh, it can't be the bitch, like, vice principal lady that I hated.
Right.
It has to be sweet Carol. Like that sucks.
Sorry, Carol.
That's hilarious. It's not a good thing. I just like to be scared of shit is just not the vibe.
No,
it's just like a waste of your.
You're not gonna make it through life. I mean, life is filled with shit.
Like your dog, your kid, yourself, probably your parents eventually.
I thought that we might talk about poop a little bit during this podcast.
A little bit.
Episode.
Usually it's just me the one talking about shit. Nobody else wants to talk about it with me.
You brought the right guy.
I was so excited to talk about your shit. You probably have one of the most famous shits in history.
There's been a few.
You should sell your turds. Like,
dude, it was funny because so like my one buddy, so Darren Miller, lead singer, songwriter for CKY, he's an amazing bud of mine, but his younger brother's awesome friend of mine too. But they had an older brother, and they're kind of like my family because there's 3 boys and a girl, but they just had 3 boys. But the oldest brother was like my oldest brother's age. Then my next brother was buds with Darren, who's the lead singer of CKY. And then the youngest was a year younger than me, but we hung out. So I never met the old brother. And he comes out to California, and it would literally, him and his wife had a convertible car. So right when we met him, they were like, oh, this is perfect. Like, hey, do you mind if Franz or whoever it was with us, if they get in your convertible with the camera because Raab's going to do something? And they were like, yeah, sure. Like, and we just met them. And they're like, they're driving next to us. And then it's like, I just stick my ass out the window and took a shit out of the van 70 miles an hour, and the shit goes like flying down the van and smears on. And like it didn't get into their car or whatever, but the second I met them is like my asshole just comes out of the window and this shit goes pouring out of it. And it's like, oh, hey, nice to meet you. Thanks for letting us use your car, like to film it. But that was like,
crying. Like, they're like, what?
Yeah, that reminded me of that moment. Like, God, that's such an awesome way to meet somebody.
Can you shit without poop? Or can you shit without peeing?
Pooping? No.
Can you shit without peeing? Because I can't shit without peeing.
I know. I don't think that's a thing, right? Is that possible? Because isn't that poo-poo pee-pee thing?
If I'm pooping, I have to pee.
At the same time?
It has to happen when I'm sitting on the toilet. I can't poop at all without.
Did you ever just dump and then get up and get out of there? Like you have to pee too. Right?
So every time you poop on camera, is there pee in your pants?
No, you just hold it.
I try to hold it once.
Oh, you mean you?
So if I'm pooping,
trigger a pee, right?
Yeah.
No, so she's right. Like you do it at the same time.
Yeah.
So you like? Oh. I didn't know. Like.
No, mine's more of a shit than a piss.
So
okay.
Or a piss than a shit.
If I sit down to poop, pee's coming out of my dick no matter what.
Yeah,
It doesn't spray forward?
Well, if he's got a little ding, if he's got a little Novak ding, it'll spray forward.
I can't assume. I don't know. I'm just saying.
If you have a dick, it's hanging down there. Down. Yeah. But if you have an egg cord, it might spray straight out.
If you're it's hanging down when you're standing up.
I'm trying to figure out if he was peeing his pants when he was pooping every time. I wasn't trying to explain how I think. Where did the explanation of where my piss comes out even come from?
She's basically trying to figure out how small you are right now on the podcast.
Thank you, babe. Baby on the camera.
Oh yeah, we've got a judge right over here.
There's a baby in her belly because of my dick. So
yeah, it's good. So
I guess it doesn't really have to be that big. I mean, your dick's probably.
It's not the tuna can. Whatever, because I just looked that up because Bam would always say that or Knoxville would always say Bam had a tuna can dick. And it was like, it's like, I guess I looked it up on Urban Dictionary and it says like a tuna can dick is like the small, like your dick is wide, but like so little that like it's hard for people to even have sex with it. You know, and you're like, yeah, so at least we know he doesn't have a tuna can dick because somebody's pregnant over here. But yeah,
thank you. That's the best compliment I've ever received. So you were talking about earlier, huh? Okay, so you were talking about.
You're like, huh, what's that, honey? You want to go on about how great my dick is? More? Yeah.
I'm not going to stop you. You need to. Give her a mic. Give her a mic. Let her talk about my dick.
Yeah. Get it.
It's not yours, but you know.
Huh?
Nothing.
Oh man! She's like the baby's not yours.
If he comes out anything but Irish, I'm really upset.
Scratch that. It is. Yeah.
Too soon.
It's just like Rob. It's a half Rob over there.
Doesn't even look like him.
Damn. This just turned into Maury Povich over here. Like this dude's gonna be dancing in a minute. Baby's not mine, Maury.
So you were speaking a lot about how you had the shits because you were drinking a lot back then, and then now you're sober.
Yes.
So do you have like a why I got sober story, or you just got sick of always having to buy 2-ply toilet paper?
I wanted to take a solid shit. No. I mean, I don't think it's like for me. It wasn't like oh man, it was a rough night. It was like a rough decade, you know, and shit got dark. And so, you know, I mean, it's tough because, you know, it's hard to tell. It's like if we're joking around and it's not like, oh, it was just so awesome. My life went to complete shit. And then I wanted to kill myself. And I felt so alone and isolated. And I pushed everybody out of my life. And, you know, like the age-old story of addiction. And I think what is always like, you know, I had heard some rock stars say it. And it's like, oh, that's boring. And it truthfully is because what ended up happening, I think, in the course of all of our story was we're just a bunch of kids from a small town who happened to get on a TV show and do the crazy shit we did. But we lived the lives of a rock stars for a while. And CKY, the band, got signed by Island Def Jam, and we toured with them. And I did live like a rock star. I didn't play an instrument, but somehow I lived like that. Drank like a madman, did a lot of hard drugs, and got into that place. And then before I knew it, I wasn't able to stop doing it. And I started pushing the people that I love away from me. And I started kind of hiding what I was doing and doing sneaky shit and pretending like I wasn't. And I was pretty good at smiling and nodding and making everybody think everything was all right. And I was hiding it in plain sight. And just got dark like with that. So, you know, whenever I share sort of my story about that stuff is like, you know, I always say like I had a rock bottom, but I skid along the bottom for a good while, and I just sort of hid it in plain sight, and you know, was doing shady shit and doing that. And then eventually for me, it wasn't like, oh man, you know, something happened bad or someone took a dump on my doorstep. It was like, you know, it all goes back to shit. But like, but no, I mean, like it just didn't get like that. It was just so bad for a long time. And however cheesy and cliche it sounds, what happened for me is that like emotionally, I became emotionally and spiritually bankrupt. And I just didn't have a sense of myself anymore. I lost sort of everything that made me fun to be around, like everything that I loved about myself in terms of like outgoing and having fun with friends and laughing, all that had kind of went away. And I was sort of just like scared of life, miserable, and trying to chase this thing to get this feeling back. And that stuff wasn't doing that for me anymore. And it became like, when we talk about it in recovery, it's like, what was my solution to life forever just didn't work anymore. And so it was like, fuck, I'm fucked. You know, like I don't know how to navigate life, but so I'm just going to keep drinking and drugging and doing that. But then eventually that was like, I couldn't navigate life with that. And then I met somebody that she was a lady like in a 12-step program, and she kind of broke it down for me. She was like, you know, and not to get so serious about it, but I mean, it's a serious topic. So like, she said to me like, hey, do you want me to tell you what's wrong? And I was like, sure. She's like, you're an alcoholic and drug addict. And I was like, yeah, I know that. But I have a whole bunch of other issues. And she's like, well, if you take care of that one issue, everything else will fall into place. And so then she brought me down to a meeting. And when I sat there, I fucking just heard my story in all of it. Like I had been shown to the rooms and all that stuff through legal shit. The judge had told me that I have a problem. I've had all these things. I've been arrested. I've had possessions. I've had DUIs. I've totaled cars. One time I got found in a pool of blood on the side of the road because I flipped my car. I tried to, and we always joke because like it had like Flintstone wheels after this wreck, and I like tried to push it back over or something. It's like, oh, I'll just drive it home. And then and like I had crawled out. I didn't have a seatbelt on. I split my leg open, so I'm bleeding from that. But I broke my face, and my nose was in my right eye socket, and I was just bleeding everywhere. And I was losing so much blood that I crawled out. I was like, oh, what the fuck? I was just out of it. And I was by myself, and luckily out back in the woods, I didn't hurt anybody or do anything but myself. And but throughout my drinking, I hurt a lot of relationships and people in my life. But I mean, I started trying to walk home because my mom lived like a mile from there, and this was like right second year college or something. Jackass we just shot the pilot. And so I tried to walk home, but then I passed out because I was losing too much blood, and I like passed out on the side of the road, and I was just laying there bleeding. And then this random van found me and like took me to my mom's because she knew where they knew where, or the guy knew where my mom lived. And then they were like, all right, we got to rush him to the hospital. So they go to the hospital. I didn't have any internal bleeding or anything like that, but I had to have stitches in my legs, and then I had to have 3 surgeries to get my nose back into the middle of my face. And that was like, okay, cool, you should learn something. And I was like, yeah. And then I got like, you know, DUI, all these things. And that was like 9 years before I got sober. So I didn't learn anything from that kind of stuff. I had a whole bunch of those, alcohol poisoning, I OD'd. Like I had a whole bunch of that shit. But that stuff never did it. You know, like that wasn't what made me go, oh man, I got an issue. You know, what did it was at that point I was so empty. I had no other way. There was no way out. And I didn't really want to die. I sort of did, but I didn't really want to like live or anything. Like it was just this weird kind of, like they call it the jumping off point, where like something had to fucking give, something had to change. And when she showed me the rooms, I was like, at this point, like even though the court had and all these other things in years in the past, like I was ready. I was ready to hear the message. I was ready to hear what it was. And I was like, I want something to change. So I'm willing to do something different. And I was willing to take direction from somebody that I didn't even know and just say, hopefully this will help me, you know, kind of navigate life or whatever. And then I did. And then I dealt myself in, and I got sober, and I, you know, took direction, went through the steps, did all that stuff. And then I'm super active in it today. I'm very active in a program, and, you know, I love to watch people and help people get sober because it's amazing to watch the light come back on in people. And like, you just kind of return to yourself and the person you were before drugs and alcohol rob you of your life. And so what's been amazing through it is like, I got myself back. I got my sense of humor back. I got all the things that I had lost back. And then I get to watch people do that. You know, I got buds that'll come in and they'll just get healthy, and like their family life gets rad, and like they get their job back in order, and then they're just fucking funny again. And it's like, man, they're happy to be alive. And it's like, it's crazy to watch what drugs and alcohol will do to somebody if they have what I have. You know, some people who don't have this, they just get to enjoy it and have a drink and smoke a little weed and whatever. And, you know, and some people could even do a little hard drugs here and there. I'm not saying go do it, but I'm just saying some people can do that and it doesn't affect their life like that. And that's awesome. And not to say I'm jealous of those people, because I'm happy that I am who I am, and I don't have any interest in wanting to do any of that stuff anymore. But for those people, that's rad. Like, do it. You know, I'm not saying, like, I'm not that dude that gets all sober and is like, everybody needs to get sober. Everybody should stop drinking. You know, like, I'm not that person, because I think that's ridiculous. But I think it's rad. Like, if you don't have it, that's awesome. But I have it, you know, and you know, all these years later, I'll still be somebody that if I took a sip of it now, like, I'm in fucking Kensington getting something in like a couple hours. You know, we're figuring it out. Right. And so I just don't live like that now, and life is rad. And to watch people who struggle with this thing and how it just robs them of their life, and then to watch them come back to life and watch all the relationships in their life become great again is amazing. You know, so not to bring it into the serious part, but I mean, it's a serious question in terms of what it did. But for me, it was, you know, the simple answer is it was emotional and spiritual bankruptcy. I was just completely done. Mm-hmm. And all the things that should have been the bottom, that everybody thought should have been the bottom, weren't the bottom. That's the thing about addiction, is it affects everyone around us. And while in denial, we believe that we're only hurting ourselves and those things. But it's such a family disease that affects everybody, family, friends, people around us that love us and care about us. That's what it does. But again, on that other side, until you want to do something about it, there's really nothing anybody can do. So, you know, I have plenty of friends that struggle with that stuff too. And people will go, well, you know, why don't you help, Raab? Why don't you do this? And it's like, I mean, I've done every single thing you possibly can. I can't do it for them. And that's the unfortunate part. But if I could, I would, you know, I definitely would. But at the same time, on the other side of that, maybe I wouldn't, because I rob you of that experience of everything you get from putting the work in and doing the stuff that you need to do to get sober and then stay sober. I mean, it's a lot harder to get sober than it is to stay sober. You know, anybody that has a little time knows that the reason, I mean, big reason I stay sober is because I like the life that I have in sobriety, but I also, because I don't want to fucking get sober again, dude. That was terrible. It was terrible. You know, and so then, like, this side of it's like, this is rad. I mean, there's some hard days here and there. I mean, I've gone through some major stuff in sobriety, but you know, at the same time, it's like, life is good this way. I've learned how to navigate it without having to escape from it. And sure, I mean, I'll escape in other ways. I'll go watch funny shit or whatever, like, just to laugh and forget about some of the tough things in life or whatever. But I think that's a healthy escape versus the one that I was doing before, what you were doing before, you know. And
we're not shitting our pants anymore.
Yeah, well, I can't.
Wait, what's the last time you shit your pants?
Guarantee that. Oh man, it wasn't that long ago. I'm trying to think. I don't have an exact date, but I'll tell you, at this point, you know, in life, it's like, you know, things aren't as tight as they used to be. so you know, a little fart here and there might slip by.
A little loose butthole.
Yeah, just slip one by the goalie. But yeah, no, I've had, because I actually, like, at this point I do a lot of running. You know, I enjoy that just for health reasons and for my crazy mind. It's nice to, like, settle things down by running a lot. And sometimes you'll just be out in the middle of a long run. You're like, oh, fuck, I got to run behind that bush and just shit. You know, and you just really hope you just don't shit your actual pants while you're going. But so I haven't, like, that, but you know, I've done like a fart, like similar to the story in the bed. Like, I've shit between my butt cheeks, you know.
No, I feel like it's, like, really a thing. Like,
yeah.
I used to work at a salon.
It's a thing.
No, it really is. Like,
you can, like, pay a quarter, like, hey, just, yeah. And then
I'm like, shit. You guys are lying. People who are like, oh, I don't shit, or like, no, nothing shit has ever happened. Like, never really. Like, you're lying. But I worked at a salon, and I was, like, managing this day. And one of the assistants came back, and she's like, there is shit in the shampoo room. And I'm like,
I'm
like, well, what do you mean? Like, did someone bring their dog in?
That's like that. What is there? No sex in the champagne room? Like, there is shit in the shampoo room.
There is shit in the shampoo room. So I'm like, okay, did someone bring their dog in? They're like, no. I'm like, Did someone go outside and step in it and bring it in by accident? No. So I'm like, okay. Of course, this is like the day that I'm managing. I'm not a manager. Like at this point, I'm like 22 years old. I have no idea what's going on.
I got no business doing this.
No clue. So I'm going there and like it's me, this other assistant, and the girl who came and got me, and we're all just standing over this pile of shit. And I'm like, well, where did it come from? Like, what the fuck? And the one girl, I almost just said her name. That would have been terrible. This one girl was just standing there, and she's like, it was me. I'm like, what was you? I was like, you like dragged it in? She was like, no, like it was me. And I'm looking at her, and she's wearing
I dragged
a maxi skirt. She had on like a long skirt.
Ooh.
So it just like fell out.
So it hit every branch on the way down?
Well, I was like looking at this like pristine shit. So I'm like, how did it come all the way down?
Oh, just like a nice.
Yeah, like it just went. And I'm like, and also, why the fuck are we standing over it? Like, can someone pick it up? Like, if it's yours, pick it up. And throw
I love
it
how
out.
she just had this moment of like, all right, it feels safe in here. It was me.
I'm like, what was you? Like, what do you mean? And they're like, oh, go get the cleaning lady. I'm like, it's yours. Like, you pick it up.
Yeah. Like, don't make that poor lady do that. Don't make sweet Carol.
I was just saying, poor Carol.
When you were saying that earlier, I was like, I know how he feels because I didn't want to call the janitor. You're the one who shit yourself.
You do it. Yeah. I think that should have been my punishment too back then, was just to clean up the shit. But all right, now that makes me want to know, when's the last time you shit yourself? Because you said everybody
This
shits.
is like, I was in high school, and I was working at a pizza shop, and I had on my little like black yogas, and I was it was closing time. I was cleaning up the shop by myself, like the restaurant side of it, and I just thought I was gonna fart, and I didn't.
Did you just leave?
And surprise.
No, I remember like going in the bathroom, like, oh my god.
So did you clean the rest of the place, or did you?
No, it was like what? It was like a
shit in your butt
diarrhea,
cheeks,
it was wetness. It was like
in between your butt cheeks, or like on your underwear.
In my underwear.
How much more work did you have?
No, like we wrapped that up.
That's a full shit.
We wrapped that up immediately. I was like, I gotta go.
Yeah, I'm clocking out.
Someone the other day sent me this video, and it was like, if you ever don't feel like going to work, like tell them you shit yourself.
Oh yeah.
You're a girl. You could just say, "Is that time of the month?" Nobody will question you.
Oh,
no, they do
you
question
could pull
you.
That. And they're like, let me smell
They're
it.
like, you'll be fine. No, not fine.
Yeah. When's the last time you shit yourself?
So before this past time, it had been since I was like a kid. But my girlfriend's nieces came over, and for our gender reveal, they were there for the not the gender reveal. It's so fucking dumb. The baby reveal, telling our family that we're pregnant. You know, we're about to have a kid, so on and so forth. They came over. They spent the night before and the day of the party there, and they were like crazy sick. But her parents, who are their guardians, didn't tell us about it. Everyone that was at this party got sick, shit their pants, threw up, all of the above that could have happened. This was like the bubonic plague. She shit her pants the first time. And then
who made the food? Who rubbed a turd in the food?
It was like a virus.
It was like everyone shit their pants.
It was like a stomach bug.
Yeah.
And
Damn.
Like it wasn't like food poisoning thing, or it was like a 24-hour bug.
Didn't tell anyone and just spread it.
Oh, enjoy.
And I was sitting there watching TV on my recliner, and it's, you're like, oh, I have fart coming, so this might be shit. Nothing like that happened. There was no inkling. I was just watching TV, and then boop.
You're like, I had already
And
shit
it was
myself.
so much shit. And I have a very hairy butthole, so
Yeah.
it takes a long time to clean my butthole.
Yeah.
You use wet wipes? You wet wipes guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to.
Yeah.
If you don't use
Okay,
wet-
wait. Do you guys put them in the toilet, or do you put them in the trash can?
It depends on where I'm at.
trash
If I don't
can.
give a fuck about your plumbing, I'm throwing it right in the
But
toilet.
at your house?
No, yeah.
You put 'em-
not.
At your house, what do you do?
You're under oath.
No, I just do like, it changed. At one point, it was the diaper genie thing because of my daughter.
Right.
But now that she doesn't do that, I just kind of put it in like a separate, like one of those little grocery bag things, and we just take that out. I can't just leave it in a trash can.
You take it out every time individually?
Yeah, or when
See-
she's gonna do it, like it'll be within the day. Like it'll be like it's in that bag. She'll take a pee or whatever, and I always use a wet wipe for that. So that all goes in that bag, and then I'll take that out.
You guys must have mean
because
shits.
I can't just leave. Yeah. I can't just leave like a shit wipe sitting in there. That makes me kind of like.
See, that's what I thought.
Feel
and then
like
they
for
named me.
us, no, I'm the same way. The other day I was with my guy friend and we're at the store. I'm like, do you need wipes? And he's like, for what? I'm like, first of all, what? I'm like, you don't have wet wipes like for when you poop?
I think people sometimes get free because it fucks the plumbing up.
Well, and he's like, well, no, he didn't even consider the plumbing.
But also, the poor
he's like,
man's
I'll get
wet
the
wipe.
flushables. I'm like, no, you don't flush them.
Oh, yeah.
Even the flushables
This
you
dude
don't
must
flush.
have the dirtiest butthole if he doesn't use wet wipes.
He has like a Brandon butthole, is what you're saying?
Yeah, like,
it's going to
I'm
smell
just like
that.
I'm so confused. And he's like, you put it in the trash can? I'm like, yes, but I think it's more normal for that concept for girls because we're used to getting like.
But doesn't it leave like the shit in aroma in the area?
But it doesn't though. It's weird. It doesn't because I was there. I used to flush them too.
You wipe and you like fold it.
I'm thrown because I just do that little
put it down.
bag because it's always like my daughter just like wipes throughout the day on everything.
Right.
So like,
well, if you have your system, I mean, you have your system. I'm just curious because like I'm not even flushing.
but I can't
flushables.
just leave it in there like.
You could.
I mean, but yeah, I guess in my head.
Yeah,
it's
no,
like
I know.
can't do
It's
that.
because you're a guy, I think.
Yeah.
Like girls, like we're used to like having sanitary napkins.
Do you live with a girl beside your
you know?
daughter?
Yeah.
Do you live with a girl beside your daughter?
No.
Okay. So I used to I used to flush them because I was like, I'm not just gonna leave shit smelling wet wipes out, right? Because it's just gonna be sitting in the can. And then I was like, well, I'm not gonna take the can out every time. If you guys are making me put this, like, I was like defiant with my butthole, you know. And I was like, if I'm doing this, I'm not taking the trash out. You are.
Yeah, you're taking my shit wipes out.
And they just stay in there all week and there's no
nothing.
smell. So
yeah, okay. Well, now I'm gonna have to leave the shit sitting there. But also, here's the other thing too that I will do is do like the poor man's wet wipe is just spit in the toilet paper.
I'm crying. That's hilarious.
Yeah,
I used to do it in the beginning.
If you just spit in the toilet paper, then it's nice and wet on your butt, and it doesn't hurt, doesn't like rip your butthole up, and it
That
gets
is
the shit out.
hilarious.
Yeah.
You want the yellow ones though. You want it really good. Because you wanted
Ew,
to,
no.
you wanted to, you wanted to glide.
She's pregnant. That's getting her. That's turning her stomach.
You wanted to glide across your butthole.
Yeah,
Speaking of helping people,
yeah,
we gotta wrap
nice
this up.
slimy butthole.
What can you tell us about the
Speaking
hope
of
for?
helping people.
What can you tell us about the Hope for Today nonprofit?
It's all about shit. You know what? It's actually hilarious because we'll just continue this talk about shit. No matter what, like so I went down to Haiti and did this documentary with a buddy because I was working on this film set thing, and it was like, you know, some shitty actress and actor, like young kids, like they got into Starbucks and they didn't get me a soy latte, whatever. Like they only had regular milk. Like they're so annoyed. Whatever. I was like, God, this fucking sucks. Just being around people like that. My buddy was like, dude, we're doing this documentary in Haiti. It's pretty gnarly down there. Like, I don't know. Do you want to go? And I'm like, yeah, I need to do something. I need something that's like different and not like some fucking people complaining about like the easiest life in the world. And so we went down there and we did this documentary down there, and it was gnarly. We had guns pulled on us and shit at this one place. It was crazy. Like, we went into this nonprofit to kind of expose the fact that they were not allocating the funds from the disaster relief in a proper way. And so we had these people that were screaming like, Creole at it, like Haitian at us, and nobody was like speaking that and like English, and it was getting it. And it was like, this is like kind of the spot where you get shot.
Right.
Because like somebody gets freaked out and then they pull the trigger. So there was like guns right at us, and I'm like looking through the thing and I'm like, this is real, like like there was really an assault rifle pointed at me, and it was gnarly. So we had this, but the guy that was hosting the documentary said like all these facts about like there was $300 million allocated to this, and then they claimed a $330 million loss, and there was like all this thing. So like there was all this money that's supposed to be going to this, but it's not helping people. Then like certain people were undercutting the donations and charging money for the donation, like, and all. It was just kind of screwing the people over. So like when I got there, it was kind of like, whoa, it just opened your eyes to all of this stuff that's going on down there, and just kind of the corruption and things. And I mean, that exists everywhere in the world, but it was just very obvious to me here. And so the guy said this thing where he was like, man, $300 million, this and that. He's like, if somebody came down here with $10,000 and like actually helped somebody with that money, it would make more of a difference than this nonsense. And like kind of the light bulb went off, and I was like, I need to do that. So when we got home, I just went home. I did like a GoFundMe, raised the $10,000, and just had it in my head like I want to go down there and figure this out. And I was hell bent on going down. I'm just going to go down and figure this out by myself. Maybe have a friend or two come, and then a friend of a friend, like her uncle, reached out and was like, "Yo, are you going down there? Like, you're crazy." Like, and I was like, "I don't know. I just have to do it." Like, it was one of those things. Like, I don't like talking about faith shit but like I felt like the universe was being like, "Yo, you need to do this," and I was like, "All right, I'm doing it. I'm figuring it out, whatever." But what ended up happening is this dude reached out and he's like, "Yo, so I'm fluent in the language. I lived there for 10 years, and I've been going down for 30." So then he was like, "I'm coming with you." And I was like, "All right, sweet." And it kind of just worked like, all right, he's going to come. So then he went down with me, and I mean, he's been down almost every time, but like sometimes not. And he connected me with all of these people. I mean, they would call him the albino Haitian. He's a big white dude or whatever, but he's fluent in the language and they love him. And usually when you get there, they're like, "Blanco, Blanco, Blanco," because it's like white people, and they just think like, okay, this guy wants to save the day, whatever, because there's that kind of, I kind of viewpoint on it. So when I got there, he introduced me to a lot of people. I became close with some of the locals, and we started doing projects. And it was just so funny to me because, like, no matter what, like, if I'm like, all right, cool, like, this is where I'm at in my life, I want to do this, I want to help. They're like, "What can you use help with? Like, what can we do?" And they're like, "We have a problem with, like, basically the sewage, the piss and the shit is like getting into the water system, and it's creating disease for the people." So like one of our first things is we built a bathroom so that people could shit in it, not shit on the ground and create the bacteria within the water and stuff. So that was one of the first projects that we did down there. And I started the little nonprofit. It's super small, but we've done a bunch of cool stuff. I haven't been back in a little while now. The pandemic stuff and I had some life things happen, and just kind of like, it's been a minute, but I'm trying to get back down there soon. Right now, the project that we're wanting to do is building a secondary school in a little town called Rensemble. They have elementary school, but then after that, kids are kind of stop going to school because they just don't have the ability to go to this like higher education, 6th grade through 12th or whatever. So we want to get this school built, but we've done a lot of cool stuff. We did this irrigation project where we got the fire company from Philadelphia like donated their old fire hoses. We got those shipped down and got some PVC pipe and then like a water pump. And we just raised a couple bucks to get that to happen. But when we gave it to them, they like made this all happen. So they built this whole irrigation system, and there was this incredibly like big like field where it was just all like barren looking, but they had a river that was running right there, but it was so polluted that they couldn't get the water. Like they couldn't put that water to try to grow crops because it would just be fucked. So we got Sawyer water filters, which are these filters that filter out all of this pollution and stuff and kind of make the water drinkable. And so they were able to use those water filters and the irrigation pump and the fire hoses and all that, build this whole irrigation system for the area and poke holes in it, poke holes in the hoses and whatever, and that would spray the land, and then they could use the water from the pollution and filter it out with the Sawyer filters. And then, dude, I came back I think it was it might have been 6 months or at a point I was going down every 6 months, but then it was maybe a year later, they were like, "Chris, we want to show you." And it still gives me chills. It was the most amazing thing because I went up over this hill, and this hill was barren with this polluted water. And I went up over this hill at this point and saw what they had done, and they had and such resourceful people that just don't have the luxuries that we have here. So when they're able to get a little bit, they make so much out of it. And And it was incredible to watch because when I went over the hill, the whole entire field was just covered in vegetation. Like there was just tomatoes and plantains and bananas and like all this awesome food that they were able to take and bring to market, sell, and then feed their little town. And then they were like lending the irrigation system to other towns so that they could grow. And they were all just helping each other. And it was just so rad to be a part of that, and be this little kind of conduit into being able to give them the opportunity to be resourceful, because that's all we're doing. I'm not sitting here like saving anything, or the people that are helping me and doing that. Like we're not like saving the world or anything. We're just giving people the opportunity to have the little things that we take for granted, and they can make incredible things out of that, which most of us would be like, who cares? There's like a fire hose or whatever, and you just like leave it sitting in your backyard. But like they took that and grew enough crops to feed the town and to like, bring stuff in and make a living. And it's just incredible to watch that. So there's so many of those cool little projects that we've done. I feel a little bit like, not a fraud, but at this point right now, like I haven't been down there in a little while and I haven't been doing stuff. I was just kind of getting my life back together after going through some stuff. So it was like, oh shit, I need to get, so it's a good reminder because I do need to get back involved, and that secondary school is really what we're trying to do now. Is like education's super important, just in life, and in terms of like, I know I joked a lot about like when I went to school, I just shit on things and fuck everything in the classroom. But like, I had that luxury because I grew up in a place where, education is just handed out. Like,
right.
And maybe we're not the best in the world or whatever, but we do have an education system that's rarely available, and some people who wish they had that don't have that. So it's cool to be able to like, be a part of that and do those things, and not to be boring about that shit because not everybody is interested in that. But that's what was turning me on at this point in life. Like so many different things, like, I mean, of course I still want to laugh about shit and I still want to do that. But then there's also this, but I just found it always ironic. Like, okay, we need help, and we need help with the shitter. And I'm like,
right.
Of course you fucking do.
Right.
Yeah.
That brings the episode full circle. So let's get into the promotion aspect. Maura, there's a camera in front of your face. Promote what you want to promote.
I'm just promoting Love and Then What, Fairy Garden Mindset, INR Studios, Chris Raab.
Yeah.
Flushable toilet wipes and clean water.
That's awesome.
Raab, what do you got?
As far as promotion, I think some projects that I had done. It's been a little. They've been out for a little bit, but 96 Bitter Beings is Darren Miller's new band, and I did a few music videos for him, but the one I did for Vaudeville's Revenge on Nuclear Blast is pretty rad. That's on YouTube. You can check that out. Another singer, Nate Bergman from Lion Eyes, I did a music video for him, directed that, and as well, and that was pretty cool. I executive produced a film called The Heavy that's coming out pretty soon. These guys, the Harrow Brothers, I met them a couple of years ago. We've done 2 movies together now. We did a movie called Afternooner that I helped produce, and then this one, The Heavy. The Afternooner one was a comedy. Check that out. I'm not sure if it's fully out. They're still like working on distribution for streaming and stuff like that. But that, and then The Heavy's like more of a drama, like kind of gnarly, like brothers situation where there's some guns and all that kind of shit. And that was a lot of fun. Yeah.
If they wanted to donate to Hope for Today, how would they do it?
Just hope the number 4today.org is the website for our nonprofit. And then, Green Gate Entertainment is my production company. That's what I do all my video work through that. That's, you can get greengateentertainment.com or greengatevideo.com or whatever. And then, that's it. So I'm always sort of working on some new thing, just doing something creative here and there whenever. And,
This is fucking awesome, by the way. I just want to take a moment to like elementary school me, middle school me, high school me now.
Yes.
Like, this is fucking crazy that I'm sitting at a table with Raab Himself. It's
Oh, that's awesome.
It's
man.
one of the most amazing things. Like, I couldn't have dreamed this would ever happen in my life.
That's cool. I appreciate that, and it's been rad sitting with you and just laughing, and I mean, and laughing with you guys and you guys as well back there, because it's that's what it's all about. I feel like just sitting around and just bullshitting, not taking life too seriously, and just getting to laugh about that stuff. And I appreciate you saying that, and that's rad that you got some laughter out of that. And,
hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again. Let's close this out. Holy
sweet.
Dude, thank you so much. That was crazy.
Oh, hell yeah.
Like, you saying Kiki in front of me?
Oh, yeah.
And my girl
Dude, I haven't done that in so long, so like, I guess it was like normal, but it didn't work again. I was able to do it. But no, when you put me on this round, I haven't really done that voice in a long time.
That was so much.
Like it
was perfect. It sounded like you.